Because you got powerful legs. How'd you get the physique? Was it gym or how'd you get the physique?
I've always been.
She's actually not got powerful legs. Do you shower in your dressing room? Do you have a shower on the day of a fight or not? Tell us about the tattoos.
Shut the fuck up, you little prick.
But then I've got the Phoenix.
Hey, prick.
So I'll take it from Bob every day of the week.
Absolute disgrace.
That's your knowing mind.
Move him out of here, Darren.
Ricky Hatton didn't go over for his fighter because he risked getting abducted and sold into sexual
I never said that.
Both have been rape victims. I'm not watching Frank Buglioni live on Saturday night. You're out of your mind.
Jesus Christ, get yourself a life.
He's actually a priest.
Yeah.
It's because his brother John Fury eye gouged him.
What have I told you all this time? He's going to end up sucked out, fucked out, looking for a handout.
Boxing nutters messenger group. I'm gonna be the king.
J-Pump. You know what I'm saying?
Well, hello everybody and welcome to the 566th edition of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast. I'm your host Steve Wellings and joining me on the call we have Matty Di Gialinardo and Andy Patterson going live on YouTube from 8 o'clock every Sunday evening. The ad-free Patreon RSS feed updates shortly after the show concludes. Hello to everyone listening through the week on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify and Sports Social. Don't forget to leave a review on the podcast player of your choice throughout the entire month of April, which is tomorrow. Nothing less than 5 stars is acceptable. Shout out to the chat. We're going to be talking a bit of Pulev later. Andy was watching that one. We got Zurdo Ramirez winning a title. Oscar Valdez. Matty was there in Arizona. Bit of Salita and Pro Box as well. Wardley versus Clark is ongoing. No doubt everybody in the chat's watching that. Ben Whittaker's dancing on my screen as we speak up against Leon Willings, aka Willington.
We were treated to an art house feature before this fight, Steve. Just a lovely and elegant evening, right?
Yeah, exactly. I've got it on mute, thankfully, so I wasn't able to hear what was going on, but it looked quite the spectacle. Talking of spectacles, Matty, there was a spectacle indeed over the weekend. Not you making a show of yourself, no doubt, down in Arizona, but the PBC is back. Prime Video, they're calling it. Amazon seems to have distanced itself completely from Al Heyman and his cronies. T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, there was plenty going on. Rolly was there, Lara, Mendoza, Martinez, we'll be talking about them later. But the main event itself, Tszyu losing surprisingly to Sebastian Fundora, scores of 116, 112 either way, and a 115, 113. Fundora is now a 2-belt world champion alongside his sister, who is also a world champion, as Chicks with Dig listeners will know. Things turn quickly in this one, Matty. It was going nicely in the first round. Tszyu was on top. He was getting the jab going, the left hook as well. And then we saw blood after the second round. The bell went for the second round. We saw blood. Seemingly, it was coming from Fundora's nose. That's okay. They'll have to get that sorted out. But then it became apparent as Tszyu sat in his corner that a cut had occurred on the top of his head. And it was actually a very nasty cut. And then Beterbiev versus Marcus Brown for the next 8, 9, 10 rounds. A mask of blood pissing down his eye. He obviously couldn't see. And it did make a difference in the fight. But you were saying last week that Fundora was dangerous. Tell us why you thought this was a dangerous opponent and why you're not surprised, Matty, that this outcome occurred.
Well, and I was only able to catch the highlights of this fight, Steve. But like I was telling you before the podcast, I think ultimately what this fight was, on all levels, was a failure of management. The people charged with promoting Tszyu's career, the people charged with taking care of his corner, he was let down by all of them. 2 weeks ago, Keith Thurman, y'all know he's been one of my favorite fighters for a long time, but he's probably more than past it. And he's a 5'8" welterweight who fights in kind of a moving athletic style, right? And on 2 weeks' notice, he pulls out with a legitimate injury, and they move Fundora up from the undercard. Sebastian Fundora, a 6'5" southpaw. You kind of need a little bit of preparation for that. It's not easy to get sparring. And on top of that, you're probably going to have some rough sparring because you're going to have to look outside of your own weight class to find anything that you can compare to Fundora. And then you get into his corner, you get this cut, and apparently they weren't able to manage it. Apparently they didn't have any of the 3 chemicals that you're allowed to use per the Nevada State Athletic Commission's guidelines.
And it was a bad cut. It was a bad cut.
So amazing that he got to the final bell, getting to cut up like that. Amazing that, maybe the ref didn't stop it at some point in time because it was influencing the fight and it was an accidental foul. But all of this added up when I heard what was going on to disaster for Tszyu. I didn't say that gleefully. I like Fundora. I'm not a huge Fundora fan. I like Tszyu. I'm quite a big Tszyu fan. His dad was a hell of a fighter. I like them both. But sometimes it's just written in the stars with this stuff, and it was just too strange of a change on too short a notice, and then the corner failed him as well. Yeah, they got him close. Apparently, it was a very close fight, but for me, it was easy pickings. It's a shame that I took Fundora when he was 3-1 instead of when he had widened out to almost 4-1.
Andy, I get what Matty's saying there, and I agree. He was saying this last week, so it's not just hindsight being 2020 and everything. But I honestly believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, you might think differently. I think the whole situation literally hinged on the cut. I think the first round was an indication of the way the fight was going. I thought Tszyu was confident. He wouldn't have been talked out of taking this fight whatsoever, regardless of sparring, the size of Fundora, etc. I think he was fully confident. He had the game plan and was able to transition from Thurman to beat Fundora, no problem. That's what I think. I think the cut at the end of the second round was just the major factor. I think it changed everything. They couldn't with it whatsoever. There was blood pissing in his face. He couldn't see. And Fundora finally did something which Rob was calling for last week and other people have been calling for years now, for him to actually stand off and use his jab. I think the cut was the major influencer in this fight, and proof being that it was so close in the end, a split decision. If he'd have put it in and been able to have seen out the eye for another couple of rounds, he would have got away with his title. I think that all tells me that the cut was the absolute major influencing factor, nothing else.
Yeah, I agree with both of you, but I also agree that the cut is the major change in trajectory factor of the fight. It really is. If you look at the first 2 rounds, I thought the way Tszyu was fighting was going to be how the fight was going to go. He was catching Fundora with a couple of straight right hands. Okay, he stood up to them, but it snapped the head back. I think he even broke his nose early doors, because obviously after the second round's finished, we're thinking the blood's coming for Fundora, but it's coming from both guys. Without doubt, if that cut is anywhere near running about the eyes, that fight gets called immediately. The amount of blood, Matty's right also, as well as the way they were handled, didn't seem to be right at all. It looked like they were just using adrenaline and petroleum jelly by the looks of it, because any time they just stuck the KY on it, it was immediately running. As soon as he got back up to start fighting, as soon as he started moving about, it started to run immediately. The face gets all masked. Losing a lot of blood in that as well, that can have an effect on a fighter. But fair play to both guys. I mean, both are losing blood, both are taking the licks. It wasn't a dominant performance by either one, but I think with you, Steve, as well, is I think the cut, and we'll never know unless we get the rematch, but I think the cut is the changing fact that Tszyu was not dominant or didn't become dominant in the fight, because it says he was having to wipe away the blood as we mentioned before, and then he's having to then reset his hand, he's getting caught with shots, he's having to kind of like blink through it. It's not easy, and then obviously to go through it for 10 rounds. It's a
energy
hard
levels, Andy, losing all that blood, as you know yourself. Remember Josh Kelly against Alvanesian, man. Your gas tank's gonna deplete a lot quicker.
Yep. absolutely. So
That cut reminded me most of Valero against DeMarco. I mean, but Valero being the fucking animal he was, just went forward. But
yeah, Beterbiev Brown came to my mind, the Mask of Blood, and Beterbiev obviously got fed up and
Badu
just
Jack, remember him having that nasty
Badu Jack, that was a bad one as well.
That was a really bad one, right down the side of the nose. But
Yeah.
I want to give Fundora a wee bit of credit as well. I mean, look,
Absolutely.
he's come in at 2 weeks' notice himself. Same way Tszyu. You could
Off
say
the back of a loss as well, confidence.
Bad knockout,
Yeah.
bad knockout. He was quite rightly the betting underdog.
But he was training for Bohachuk, which you look at it, I mean, that's a far more similar change, going to Tszyu. I mean, that's not as off as Thurman to Fundora.
Still a long. I don't know in terms of height and that, but that Bohachuk style, he looks quite tall and lanky compared to Tszyu, who looks more kind of like broader, but even kind of shorter.
Yeah, a puncher that throws him over the top, though.
Yeah.
Bohachuk reminded me a bit of Stanionis. He's not quite as hunched down, but he had that kind of bald head cupped around the hands kind of style.
Yeah, but as I say, you got to give. So I want to give a bit of credit to Fundora. Says as Rob mentioned last week about keeping the jab. Once the cut happened, and he saw the blood, he was just simple keeping it on the jab, and then obviously just keeping it really smart, really just keeping it on the outside for the whole fight. I was seeing there was a rematch clause there somewhere. Don't know if the politics are going to get involved. I see the WBO have come out here recently, the last 7 hours or so, to say that they're no mandating the Spence fight against Fundora. They're saying that it's got to be Crawford against. So we'll wait and see if the politics going to play its hand here. But unless he fights Tszyu next, I think whoever Fundora probably fights next, like even I don't even if Spence at this point would even. I don't want to say too much about Spence at this point, because I just don't know what he's got left. But Fundora, I don't suspect it'll be a long reign. I don't think.
Reeks of a rematch, surely, Andy, doesn't it? That's what before they brought little fat owl into the ring. I was thinking, surely they're going to have to do this again.
It's supposed to be Crawford. He was instated as the mandatory.
I mean, it's well, obviously as well as it's got to be a rematch. Surely, there's no other solution to it. There isn't. I mean, you've got a guy here who has got a rematch clause, who legitimately can say, "Listen, I fought with a handicap the entire fight, practically. So give me a rematch. Plus, I gave you the opportunity in 2 weeks' notice as well. So here's a chance. Give me one. Give me my chance back. So I don't know. Just wait and see. But Big Al, what Big Al will be like. It's all business.
Oh, well, whatever happens, Andy, it'll not be for another 15, 16 months, probably, anyway.
And there's Spence as well. There's Spence as well. He's saving money. He's partly left Derek James.
That's right, yeah. I don't think they handle the aftermath very well, Andy. I know they were interviewing the losers first, which was a bit strange. They're trying something a bit different. So they interviewed Tszyu first. He was the loser. Maybe, as I say, it was a bit of a decision that they were making on the PBC broadcast, but they probably wanted to get him backstage, get the cut stitched up. The point being, I don't think they give Fundora much credit that his moment was almost taken away. They went to Tszyu first, then they went to him, and then as soon as they start interviewing him, they bring little fat Errol in to hype up another fight. Let Fundora have his moment, man. I thought it was a big moment for him.
I know, this is what I was saying as well about who was it that I was kind of like hoping would win last night to kind of give the kind of newer faces. I mean, Spence has had his turn in that as well, as you know, but it's all about opportunity, and that's what it is. I see he's talking about Dallas and that as well. Good luck to him. It's all about if he can get the money in, and that's it. But Fundora was quite clear in his post-fight press conference for what I could hear. He's interested in Crawford. So I don't know if after what's happened with Spence, I don't know if Uncle Al was intending to put Crawford on the shelf for don't know how long, or just starve him opportunities. I don't know, but you'd have hoped Crawford would have had something lined up by now,
Yeah, he's got to have, and it would be interesting to see who they put him in with, and the dance partner, and what kind of numbers it does, and where they put him location-wise, Andy, as well. It'll be interesting.
Who was you talking about, Matty, recently? They were talking about for Crawford. You were talking about a middleweight fight recently, were you not?
Oh, they were Eubank, but then they squashed that. They said that wasn't happening. So
Bomac squashed that.
It's a waste of fucking camp. I think we said that at the time. That fight is it's a waste of time. But nah, well, 54. I mean, Mendoza took a loss there last night. think that Martinez, I think the IBF title, I think there's might be movement about that.
They're fighting next week. Martinez fighting Jack Kulkai next Saturday.
That's right. Josh Kelly, he'll be kind of mixed around about as well for a title shot with WBO.
Yeah. They need to get the big fighters in against each other, though. With the greatest of respect to these Murtazaliyevs, Kulkais, and Josh Kellys, nobody gives a shit about them. We want to see Crawford, Tszyu, Fundora, even Fat Errol all mixing with each other. None of these other idiots.
But what's really going to get Crawford in the ring here? Apart from obviously, I don't think Spence is really going to be interested in the rematch, right? And obviously, Crawford at this point is going to be about dollars rather than titles.
Set up for Tszyu, wasn't it, to win, really? So that's why I wonder whether they'll put them two in against Tszyu and Fundora. But then the fact they bought Errol in, that's a classic BBC looking after their own, isn't it?
This is that. And
he should retire, man. He can barely string a fucking sentence together.
Mate, I think we said that at the time after the car accident, the body doesn't forget that type of punishment. And we saw him after the fight, he could hardly talk properly and that. A wee bit like Rolly was like after his fight last night. I couldn't put a sentence together.
We'll come into that next. Don't worry.
Yeah,
Andy.
don't worry.
Well, I'll tell you what. We can go to that right now. Actually, old Rolly. Let me. I was going to save this for Belly of the Week, but it's just too good. I know you were referring to it earlier, Andy. A little Easter message from Rolly. Let me see if I can just line it up now. He wasn't in the best physical shape. That's the best time to interview them, mentally or physically. Here we go.
I want to tell everybody, just thank you for coming out and honestly, happy Easter, everybody. You guys, Jesus was resurrected. I'll be back.
Oh my God.
God, people hate him so much.
He's class, isn't he?
That booing was well justified, but Gervonta humbled him, and then
he should have about 4 losses. I know the Barroso one was a bit contentious, Andy, because he had obviously come back and he had recovered from the knockdown to that point, so we maybe give him that one. But he was doing well against Davis till Davis got fed up, banged him out. He lost to Jackson Martinez early in his career. There's no one to tell me that he won that fight. He got flipping boxed rings around his ears, and then Cruz absolutely annihilated him. He's barely European level. He's awkward. He's dirty. He can certainly punch. Couldn't put a dent, Andy, on Cruz last night.
Yeah, mate. I mean, once he felt that first right hand was it the right hand on top of the head, or was it the left hook? I forget which shot it was.
Left hook, I think, was landing all night. Yeah,
and it just did him the stanky, didn't it? The back leg went for him, and again, he's got poor foot movement, and it showed there again. He just could not get his legs back under him, and it looked like he was on stilts the whole night. The legs just were not strong, and anytime he took a heavy shot, he was wobbling, he was teetering, he was all over the place. It's glorious to see, mind you. And then obviously the referee steps him in the mercy and that. But he served his purpose now, Rolly. I mean, look, that was either a poster child for CTE or concussion or both there last night in that post-fight interview.
He was concussed, I think, Andy.
Yeah, I think again they did the same thing with that fight as well, mate. I'm sure they had him interviewed first as the loser. Am I right?
Yeah, they've done that all night. Yeah.
So yeah, again, mate, it's just hospital for him. Pick up his check, and we'll see him again in about 12 months' time once he's ready to play the bad guy again. But it was a really, really good to see. Like,
he's had so many opportunities. He could not get out the way of the left hook. As I said, he kept grabbing the guy's head, Cruz's head, pulling him down. Last week, I gave him a bit of a chance just because I thought the irony of boxing, it'd be just like Rolly to catch him. He is a big puncher, if nothing else. He'll catch Cruz coming in. But Cruz absolutely dominated, Andy. And let this be the last we've seen of him at this level. He's talked his way into these big fights. He hasn't got the skills to deserve these opportunities, I don't think, anymore.
Well, again, I try to remember how the Davis fight came about again. Was it just simple banter, or was it previous?
He was bantering with Davis. Then it was meant to be made for the December, I think, wasn't it? And then he got
accused of being a rapist.
He got accused of being a sexual deviant, which wasn't true, I might add. Cruz jumped in his place, didn't he then? That Davis beat Cruz at short notice, hurt his hand. Then he fought Rolly maybe the following May or something. I can't remember the exact time.
I think it's with Cruz as well. That's his first fight up at 140 as well. And the way he went about it, as you say, he never felt any. Well, there were a couple of shots landed, but he ate them. A couple of those uppercuts that Rolly throws never buzzed him. And one thing I had noted in that about Cruz last night was just his focus. He was just primed on the target. He was on focus, and Rolly had no answers for him.
Yeah, he was all business. Matty, I know you didn't get a chance to see too much of this, but as I said before, He loves the grabs, the elbows, pulling the head down. He's just doing everything he could to stay in the fight. He just looked like a second-class citizen. He can definitely punch. There was a bit of marking up on Cruz's face at the end, but the power of Cruz, the strength, and Rolly's the man. It's his wheelhouse at 140. Cruz was the one moved up. What are they going to do with Cruz next, do you think? He's going to have to become some kind of headline attraction. He's a champion. Will he even stay at 140? Will he just go to the highest bidder? What are the PBC going to do with him?
I think that I think the PBC thought that he was going to win that fight, and that's why they did it, because they just kind of got tired of Raleigh because he's a fucking jerk off. And I think that they believe that sets up a rematch with Davis with belts on the line at 140, and that would ease Davis into 140 and maybe get him in towards the Haney fight or something else lucrative in that area. I think Davis would do better in the rematch. It was kind of a close fight the first time around, but again, I mean, he was preparing for a guy that was, quite a bit taller than Cruz in Romero and fights completely differently. What I think, and I wish someone like Dez was here right now to kind of check me on this, and I don't know if I'm wrong, but Cruz is very good, but it's kind of predictable as far as what he does. Hey, speak of the devil. He throws with you, and whatever hand you're throwing with, he tries to get under and loop over your shot. Mm-hmm. So I think if you're thinking about, well, how do I get somebody like Cruz, because he's got a good chin, so you got to surprise him. I think you have to feint your shot, knowing he's going to dip under and come underneath, and then go with your opposite hand on the uppercut as he's going under. I think that's how you got to manage it. And if I'm Davis, I think he is going to, he'll go back, they'll look at the tape, and I think he'll employ something like that. But it's, Cruz is he's good at what he does, but dare I say, even with that, it is kind of predictable if you're looking at it. There's a pattern to what he does.
Des has made a comment. He says, Rolly's feet are awful. He lacks ring IQ. He's done well to get this far. He shouldn't have got past Barroso. I agree with that. He's a wrestler.
Except the word ring isn't needed in that sense.
Yeah, exactly. He's a wrestler by trade. He's done well for himself for his limited ability, but the likes of the PBC have sort of indulged him, haven't they, really? I'm accidentally recording something on my phone. I don't know how I've done that, but... Well, we're going to have a look shortly. Paul Rafter, he says, Whittaker has proved what a dislikable bellend he is. Street dancing, Bellew of the Week, ring walk, bellend.
What's happened there? And is he still fighting? Or
he's still fighting. 8th round, about a minute and a half to go online now.
Yeah,
Willington is pushing him all the way. Whittaker, a bit of a feather duster man tonight.
Isn't that the tough thing when you're bringing offense, but you're not necessarily a volume fighter? So your opponent isn't necessarily going to engage enough for you to find all the shots. I mean, that's the problem with a guy like Whittaker is he's going to put you on the defensive so much, and they're going to be in defensive mode.
I see Whittaker. This guy Whittaker's fighting is actually the Central Area champion at light heavyweight.
Mm-hmm.
So
he's not too bad. He's done okay for himself.
He's decent level. So,
but Whittaker's put himself on a pedestal, hasn't he, Andy?
That's all I'm saying. Well, yeah, I know, mate. That's all we're saying.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying. If he's gone 8 rounds at Central Area level, after all his bullshit,
you got to back it up exactly. Going in on Andy Clark,
surgeon, mate. He's going to be the surgeon in there.
Kaiser Koba said, "Did everyone have Cruz winning a shutout, or maybe give Wally? There you go, Freudian slip. Rolly 1 round. I wasn't scoring it, to be honest. But Cruz, as I said last week, his defense is a little bit better than people give him credit for. What else have we got on that card? Erislandy Lara, Andy, returning at 41, 42, something like that. Going to Zerafa. Zerafa waited 2 years for this world title shot. Are you going to be there in 2 years' time, Andy, to support him for his next shot?
Fucking no chance, mate. I'll be there for his retirement party to support him for that one if he's interested, mate. Other than that, no me. I think it was Rob says that. We've been waiting 41 years for this Erislandy Lara to turn up, mate, and he finally appeared. He's icing people left, right, and centre these days after how many years ago in the distance?
Yeah, he can't run anymore, can he? Because his legs are gone.
Aye, true. So but it was a couple of heavy shots that put Zerafa down, really, mate. There's not really much else we can say. He's got himself back into, in all intents and purposes, class himself now as a world champion again at middleweight. I don't know what fringe belt it is. Is that a fringe belt he's got, or is it a secondary tier title? I don't know.
Yeah, he's the WBA middleweight champion as far as I know, but I mean, he could be one of many.
Yeah, of course, we're talking about Danny Garcia as well, eh? So that'll be another
Yeah.
one. They'll be queuing up for that one next on PBC pay-per-view, eh? We'll have
That was supposed to happen in August, wasn't it? That, yeah.
Yep. So that's what will be happening in whenever, 6 months' time.
I don't know what they're going to do with him. Matty, Jamal Charlo's hanging around. Alim Hanalulu, our friend, he's got the WBO and then he unified, didn't he, with that fella to win the IBF. So he's hanging around. Carlos Adames is PBC. Elijah Garcia, I think he could be one of the future stars of the division. Was supposed to fight Tyrone Davis last night, ended up getting sick and wasn't able to fulfill that. Lara, according to BoxRec, is behind Liam Smith and Chris Eubank Jr. on the middleweight rankings, Matty. So that's some fall from grace for him, but he can still punch. He puts the shots together well, just not quite as mobile as he once was. But against guys like Zerafa, Matty, he's always going to get the win, you would imagine.
Well, you know, I think my failure to, as I look at him like, God, that inactivity and the age, et cetera, it's got to catch up. But, you know, much like Hopkins as he was getting older, you think about, you know, someone just coming in, throwing punches, big man in him. I thought Tavoris Cloud would have been able to do that to Hopkins. But what they do is just so economical, right? And that's why it's so hard to do it. They've learned to not waste movement. They've learned to pick their spots. And Lara has the one thing that Hopkins never had, and that was just a real laser shot in that left hand he's got. So it would be nice if they'd get him out again this year, or at least within a calendar year, for the love of God. But it's pretty tremendous what he's doing at this age, and it's gonna take someone obviously more than the Zerafas of the world to knock him off of his stoop. That Danny Garcia fight, I still think it's stupid, but maybe they're gonna pursue that again. But Lara, he's got a few years left, they need to kind of keep him active, and he just might impress us, but with what he does in this the final stages of his career, because he's still got a great left hand, and like I said, he's kind of hard to wear down because he doesn't really waste his movement, waste his shots.
If you get in the right dance partner, Matty, he can be an exciting fight. I mean, his draw with Brian Castano was an underrated, really good fight. And then obviously his clash with Jarrett Hurd came down, I think, on the points to Hurd knocking him down in the last round. Those were two wildly exciting fights.
They were. They absolutely were. And, both of those guys are volume pressure guys. Hurd obviously had a very short shelf life with what he was doing. But yeah, so I don't know. We'll see. Again, I don't know that Danny Garcia is the guy, and I just kind of think it's stupid to give Danny Garcia a middleweight title shot, but that's another discussion.
Yeah, they seem desperate to do that. Kaiser Kobe says the commentary said Zerafa was dedicated the performance to his sister battling cancer in the first round. She was at ringside, Michelle, and she was waving away. And then by the second round, unfortunately, it wasn't so happy for her as her brother got knocked out. Yeah, back to pole dancing. He's into the stripping scene, is Zerafa. No judgment here. Beatbot Boop is talking about Ben Whittaker. He says Whittaker will get found out by Opataya. No doubt he will. I'm sure a lot of people get found out by Opataya, to be honest with you. If Opataya were to fight the likes of Zurdo Ramirez, who we'll be talking about later, that would be a very interesting fight indeed. Moving down the card, Andy, onto the little guys. WBC World Flyweight title. Heard during the week a lot of people throwing a lot of love the way of Angelino Cordova going in against Julio Cesar Martinez. It wasn't to be. One of the judges had it 113 apiece. The other two had it 114, 112, which indicates to me, Andy, mathematical retard that I am, that if Cordova had managed to stay on his feet, the whole thing possibly would have been a draw. He was doing okay when he wasn't getting knocked down by a stiff left jab, no less. Seemed like Martinez's power, and those two knockdowns were mathematically the difference in the fight.
Yeah. Well, yeah, sorry, I thought I was on mute there, mate. Yeah, I actually watched this one on 4-speed. It was a great wee kind of nasty, violent fight, actually, as well. I think the difference in the fight, obviously, as you say as well, with the two knockdowns, but I think some of the exchanges were finished more kind of emphatically by Martinez. I think it's the wee bit more meat in the shots, a wee bit more telling. I don't know if the decision was controversial. I thought it was a kind of close fight. But
I thought it was fine.
Yeah, I thought it was. I wasn't scoring it as such, though.
No.
Maybe like yourself and that, but I think I thought it was close, and it was a good action fight. But as I said, I thought just the better endings of some of the exchanges were done by Martinez. who I'm surprised still at flyweight, to be fair, and that obviously because there was rumblings for a wee while that there was maybe some issues with the weight. But I'm trying to remember. I'm surprised he's with the PBC now. But he'd been with Eddie for a while and that as well. I think Eddie had been talking about maybe moving up to fight at super flyweight. Who was it against?
He's
Bam
been
Rodriguez.
Bam's fighting Estrada now, but
Estrada,
Martinez
been
was talked
signed
about
off,
that
aye.
for a long time. Yeah, absolutely.
Aye, so I don't know when he left Eddie, but again, he's got a solid wee resume kind of built up for himself and that as well. To be fair, he's went the distance with Gonzalez, beat the likes of McWilliams, Arroyo. G Harris was an okay win. Just like to see him maybe kind of like get himself into maybe a unification fight if or Big Uncle Al can maybe get it sorted out. Jesse Rodriguez has now, as you say, vacated the bulk of those belts, so I don't know if there's maybe opportunities there he can maybe get unification fights with, but just need to wait and see. But yeah, Cordova was it wasn't a disgrace. It was a decent performance. I don't know if it'll be enough to get a rematch, to be fair, but certainly
it was close on the cards, wasn't it? It was a feisty affair, I think, just to kick things off. And tell you what, Martinez's face, Andy, absolutely slashed open, man. There was blood spurting everywhere.
Yeah, I think had Cordova maybe kind of swelled up in the left side of his face and that as well.
Yeah, his head was all over the place, so that's where all the cuts were coming from.
Yeah, so yeah, it was a great wee watch, but I'm no, as I say, I'm not really too bored of anybody saying it's a robbery. It was a good, close, competitive fight, and I'm just trying to pull the rankings up here. Actually, while I'm talking here, yeah, so there's not really much here in terms of names we're kind of looking at, to be fair. So I wonder if Uncle Al maybe looking to move him up in weight, actually, to be fair.
I think it's hard around these lower weights, maybe just because I'm a casual, Andy, but you see around flyweight, super flyweight, they all seem to bounce up and down that much, and BoxRec seems to have the same trouble as me, trying to work out where they are. Rodriguez was fighting at a different weight, then he drops his titles. Sonny Edwards meant to be fighting Curiel, who beat Shinga, then lost to him, and that's going to be on the undercard of Bam against Estrada. Estrada, people talking about Hall of Fame legacy, he hasn't fought in 18 months. Ioka is pretty much consistent, but I find a lot of them just bounce up and down. I can't keep track of where they are.
Yeah, I get what you mean, mate. In terms of like maybe the contenders coming up around about the top 10, 15, I take the point. But it'll be interesting with those belts fragmenting actually, as well as if you maybe try and make dibs on them, because just looking at some of the names here, there's nothing there really that okay in terms of undercard filler. Yeah, okay, you could probably take some of these names, but
Ricardo Sandoval's on the list. He fought last night against Twager or something. He beat him.
I'll tell you the fight I like.
Yeah,
for Martinez is go up to 115 pounds. If you're PBC now and fight Fernando Martinez, very underrated fighter.
That'd be a good fight. High output fight that would be.
I like that fight quite a bit.
MB says Estrada needs a tune up for Bam. Well, he ain't getting one, so we're going to have to put that to bed. Matty, I know you didn't see this. Well, I assume you didn't see this. Mayweather protege Kermel Moton, 17 years of age. He's fairly moving up the rankings. He was 2-0 with 2 knockouts. He went in an 8-rounder against the guy Anthony Cuba, who was 7-0-2 coming in. And I tell you what, he was fast of hands, Cuba. He had a good go. He didn't win a round on any of the judges' scorecards. But what do you think about Moton being moved up at 17 already? A special dispensation to turn pro with the Las Vegas State Athletic Commission as well. And he's going up already to fighting more experienced kids over 8 rounds as well. So they're moving him on pretty quickly. He took a few shots in there, which obviously is going to happen at this level. But do you think he's been moved on at a nice pace for you?
Obviously, I mean, if he got a victory there last night, they didn't pick wrong. They're moving him very, very fast. Obviously at 17, who knows where he's going to ultimately end up landing as far as a weight class. Where he is at now might not be where he could get his first real opportunity. But at this point, the sky's the limit for him. He's got all the talent in the world, it seems. He's got a lot of people behind him. So count me among those who's very, very excited to see what the future holds for Caramel Mutton.
Caramel Mutton, indeed. A couple of other wins on the undercard before we move on. Justin Valoria getting a win over Eric Benitez. He's the nephew of Brian Valoria, who you might remember. Zerafa had Rachel and Nonito Donaire in his corner, but they couldn't help him, unfortunately. What else did we have there? Mirko Coelho, I've seen him before. He's Argentine, one of Samson Levkovich's fighters. He's pretty handy. Marku and Congo are coming into the ring now, says Des. Yep, I can see it on my screen. I'm maybe a couple of minutes behind because they're still doing slow motion press conference footage at the moment. I think Marku might stop Congo. Is that a 10 or a 12? I'm not sure. If it's 12, I might fancy Marku to get the stoppage there. Andy, final one to you on the PBC card. Brian Mendoza. He got the shit beaten out of him, really, against Sergei Bohachuk. I thought Mendoza might have the experience and the willingness to sort of grind him down the way Brandon Adams did. But Bohachuk has obviously learnt from that fight, and he laid some punishment on him. It was starting to become uncomfortable viewing towards the end.
Yeah, he's another one who their face badly kind of swelled up toward the end of that as well, mate. He spent a big chunk of that fight really kind of backing up on the back foot, really. Bohachuk you say, he kept the high guard. Any shots were getting properly well blocked, and that really kind of grinded it out. And the decision was, to me at least, was no doubt. I did catch this one on the just before I went to bed actually, because it was on the free portion of the YouTube. I think Mendoza he landed a couple of decent left hooks in the kind of like midway half of the fight, but other than that, I think Bohachuk was pretty consistent, to be fair, and that just pushed him back, hooks and body, that type of thing, just kept grinding away, moving forward and that, and ultimately was deserving. It was a 118 type. I think it was a 118, 110 scorecard.
Yeah, I thought that was about right. Yeah.
Yeah, 170, 111, I think as well was in there as well. And to say, I think Mendoza had a bad jaw on that as well, but he took some shots. But I think you said it's last week, Steve, because I think I had maybe picked Mendoza actually to win last week. I was wrong all week actually. I picked Tszyu to win. I picked Mendoza to win, and somebody else but Valdez, I picked him to get beat. So it's been a bad week for me in that regard. But no, you were right in terms of what you mentioned about Mendoza in that last week. You know, it's just the amount of punishment he takes. He kind of leaves it late. There was a wee rally kind of late in the fight in that as well. But you think yourself, like, you kind of keep leaving it this late, and ultimately it just was too much to pull through this time compared to the Fundora fight. But you know, that counter punching style that he's got, he just needs to kind of step in a bit more. But ultimately, he's not going to be there for much longer than that. The time, if he keeps defending like that, he's not going to be around there on that type of level for much longer.
Overall impressions, Andy, before we move on to the other cards, about the overall presentation and everything. Bit of a Showtime Fox hybrid, it felt to me.
Yeah, it was a Showtime type hybrid to me, mate. I did notice, for example, Al Bernstein was actually working for the Zone in Bulgaria last night for the Pulev fight. So I don't know if they've siphoned him off or whatever.
They've got rid of him because they wanted to change it up. They've brought in Joe Goosen, who before was doing Fox, Andy. Apparently he's Tom Brown of TG Promotions, his brother-in-law. So he's obviously been sort of drafted in there to replace Bernstein.
Yeah, he's okay, I suppose. But in terms of the card itself, mate, I can't really complain. The only thing I could complain about is I wasn't really fussed about Zerafa getting on an opportunity, or Lara. I think I said that last week, how he's still getting airtime. Fundora was a surprise bag, obviously. I mean, in hindsight, it's better than Thurman, wasn't it? I think we can basically agree on that. And Isaac Cruz humbling Rolly Romero's worth.
Fights are exciting, Andy, man. I think that most of them were good fights, you know.
Martinez against Cordova was competitive. Kind of asked for more than that. One competitive fights. You kind of have 80-20 type world title fights. I didn't see the other parts on the card, to be fair, but for what I've seen in the most part of it, I've seen 3 quarters on the undercard. I think it was pretty solid fare, but it has got that stamp of PBC written all over it, to be fair. Like.
It absolutely has. Marku is making his ring walk on my TV here. Harvey Price Boxing Return says Congo on points for me, Steve. Surely Congo outboxes Marku. I think he will for long portions, but he can get hit at times, and he got dropped by McKinson. He's had trouble with punches in the past, so I think Marku will get to him eventually. But as we've just established, I am often wrong. Let's have a quick look over here on Friday night. Matty was in attendance in Oscar Valdez going against Liam Wilson. I haven't saved the tab, unfortunately, Matty, so I'm going to have to just fire off the top of my head here, which is always a dangerous thing. Valdez getting the 7th round stoppage win over Liam Wilson. Wilson seemed to me like he was doing okay when he was boxing from the outside. Valdez was doing a bit of a Canelo impression, as Tim Bradley was saying on the broadcast. He said, and he's got his hands up high. He's doing a Canelo impression. and trying to beat him down and break him down. Wilson has a bit of a good story, trying to win the world title for his dad, but he just looks like he's falling short. What did you think of the main event, and did you have a good time overall, Matter?
I really did enjoy it. Let me preface all this with saying, anybody who's looking for a fight to attend, that you see a chance to go down to Glendale at the Desert Diamond Arena, you should do it. The arena is pretty small. Everything seems to be a good seat in there. Unfortunately, their seating chart is incorrect. I was not in the nine rows back. That made me sad, but it was still okay. Very good seats. But there's a lot of great nightlife around there. So it's right near the little casino, which doesn't have a hotel attached, but there's a bunch of hotels in the area over there. There's restaurants and clubs and an axe throwing bar. There's a putt bar, Steve, with like a backyard area with 36 holes of putt golf. All sorts of entertainment to be found in Glendale. I hope to be back for another fight and stay longer. I recommend it for everyone. Now, as far as the fights go, I thought that Wilson was doing pretty damn good, and Valdez was sure reddening up, even though he wasn't horribly accurate with it. When Wilson was keeping his distance with the jab and keeping the shorter man at the end of it, he seemed to be doing fine. And then oftentimes he'd then close it and do some good work to the body and get out again. And I thought he was doing well. But then exchanging with Valdez at mid-range, that was a bad idea.
Well, why did he do that?
I don't know. I think he wants the. I think he's a fighter who sometimes lacks maybe a little bit of patience. Wilson, that is, and so he might have been pushing for it a little bit. The other thing that I thought was kind of the beginning of the end, and when he did it, I'm like, what the fuck, you idiot, was when he turned southpaw. It made no sense to me. I don't think it worked at all for him. And it opened up that right hand for Valdez to land multiple times, which I think started the damage that really added up for Wilson. But yeah, I mean, it was what you got to say, though, is those guys really threw down. It was an active fight with both guys landing a fair amount of leather, and it was a very entertaining event as far as that fight went. I thought that, when I saw it was announced, I knew it was going to be an entertaining fight. And even though it didn't go the direction I wanted, and to be honest with you, I think there was only about 10 of us in there who were clapping for Wilson. But it really was an exceptional fight. Definitely one of the better fights as far as entertainment value that I've had a chance to see live.
Lovely stuff. We'll come back to you on the undercard shortly. Andy, over to you on Glendale, Arizona. We went ringside, obviously, like Matty, but it looked like a good atmosphere in there. As we were mentioning, Liam Wilson just gave up his advantages. He started coming inside. He was open for the uppercuts. There was no head movement. He's a typical sort of upright Aussie fighter, isn't he? Reminds me of Danny Green, Jeff Harding type. He's all toughness, and he just can't take it, unfortunately. He's good at dishing it out when he was on the jab, on the back foot. He was having success, but he just couldn't help himself for whatever reason, Andy, whether he was tiring or whether he wanted to show a bit of machismo. He came on the inside, and that was his downfall. Valdez just started slicing him up.
Yeah, fair play to Valdez. He at moments he picked it off the back foot. Wilson was kind of pressed him forward. He was, obviously, working away at him, but tall guy as well. So Valdez has got a lot to aim at, and Valdez wasn't through his own swellings and markings up and that as well. But got to give Wilson credit in that as well. He's pressed to fight. Bad weekend for the Aussies all around, actually, to be fair. But pressed to fight. And the ending itself, and that the guy was, I'm just kind of like pulled it back up here. So the last 20 seconds of the 7th round, just taking hooks and uppercuts. He's completely defenseless. He's got nothing really kind of coming back in terms of output, and the referee's kind of stepped in and stopped it. So I think he just simply ran out of gas, practically punched himself to a standstill by pressing forward, and obviously getting the fight beaten out of him in that as well. Another one that was a disgrace, but ultimately I had kind of pinned my hopes on Wilson pulling this one off, because I just wanted to see a bit of fresher blood coming through now. But Valdez, he's had his own histories, with past failed drugs tests, whatever, and that. But he's stayed the course. He's come back again. So I suppose we've got to give him credit in that as well for hanging in there and basically pulling it out as well by I think as well doing it in the manner what he done it in that as well. So fighting the bigger dude. and basically, getting the stoppage, forcing the referee to pull him out. So fair play to him. And also as well, after the fight, he was showing some good sportsmanship by saying to the boy that as well. Listen, I've been here. I know what it feels like. So you go, didn't quit. You got to keep going.
He's an emotional kid, Valdez, isn't he? He loves a cry.
Aye, so maybe needs to drop the hormone replacement therapy
He's on his period.
Aye. He's maybe
make Wilson
overcompensating.
feel bad and like, fuck, I got beat by an emotional woman.
Hamed says Valdez is back. He's always entertaining, been in so many good fights. He also said, I had Valdez up 4-2, arguably 5-1. Great performance by Valdez and the KO. No argument with the stoppage, guys, from Hamed. On to the rest of the cards. Matty, feel free to speak about what you wish. I thought Raymond Morataya looked a little bit flat-footed against the South African guy. I was talking to Declan Graffin, and he made a good point, saying Morataya looks like someone who knows that he's not getting any of the big guys anytime soon. He's maybe a little bit undermotivated. I enjoyed the women's fight. Yocosta Valle, you losing to Sinisa Estrada. Valle's trainer, Gloria Alvarado, she was in the middle of it. She's a feisty one. Wouldn't want to go home a few pounds short in your pay packet to that woman. I'd say she'd knock your bollocks in quick enough. I think, Matty, we've spoken about this before. Women's boxing, it's an ongoing debate. I think 2-minute rounds hurt this fight. Both of them were thrown in a frenzy, and that meant it lacked the nuance, and there was a lot of head clashes. I think a longer fight would have suited both of these girls better.
Maybe. I think, if anything, it might have suited Valle better.
Yes.
She seemed to have more left in those last rounds. And and this was just another in a series of what has been very competitive fights at the top levels of women boxing, where there is sometimes an argument to go either direction. I had Estrada 96-94 from where I was sitting, so a little bit closer than the judges.
Didn't think it was that close, to be honest, but you were there, so I'm just saying.
Yeah, I thought that she piled on a few rounds early, but then there's a couple of swing rounds in there, and then the last few, especially the last two, Valle really turned it up, started finding that right hand, and I think it was close enough that neither woman looked super confident at the end, even though had their little celebrations. I don't know that either one of them saw which way it would go. So I think that might be warranted for a rematch. It'd be interesting to see what changes might be done there. Maybe Sinisa slows it down just a little bit. I thought the best that she was doing was she did well from both stances, and from both stances she was doing well, just stepping around with a nice little hook when Valle came in, and then sometimes catching her with the straight behind it, and I thought that's when she was looking her best, was controlling it with her feet. For me, the difference in the fight, skill for skill. I mean, these gals are probably very, very even, but I thought that Estrada just nipped it in the athleticism category. But again, if you contest this over 3 rounds or even a couple more rounds at 12-2, I don't know, because Valle held up longer. I think she definitely has more in the endurance category. I would be totally up for seeing it again. One of the main reasons I traveled down there was to see this fight, because I thought that it would be highly entertaining and very competitive, and it was both. And big hats off though to Gloria Alvarado. I ran into her outside of the restaurant when we got done eating after the fight, and said I thought it was a very close fight. Big fan. Best luck. I'm not one of those people that goes in kissing ass and trying to make friends with everybody and shit. But yeah. And then and she was also in the corner for Alan Garcia earlier in the night, who picked up a second round stoppage. He's a nicely developing prospect as well. I ran into one of the guys on his training team, his brother Henry, staying in the same hotel I was right across the way. And now he's going to be going down to do some work in the Canelo camp. So, best of luck to Alvarado and the Garcia family on that one. I'm really excited about Alan as a prospect. He's a fantastic fighter. And as far as Morataya goes, I would say he did look a little bit not as much pep in his step. I guess you kind of hinted on maybe unmotivated, possibly. It's important to note though that in Don Jenny, is a very, very durable fighter, Steve. He also is the only fighter who's gone the distance with Tito Mercado, who's going to be fighting on Friday night.
Yes.
Up to this point in Mercado's career. So you got to give him some credit. I mean, not only can he take a shot, he is really sneaky with that right hand at times. But I thought Murataya did a good job just kind of working through it and getting a W. Sometimes you don't look pretty, but you just got to get the win. And we'll see where he goes next. I'm not going to dismiss him and say that the shine's off of him, because again, a really sturdy opponent, very experienced. So it's they might not be taking a big jump after that one, but I think they can still feel confident that this is a developing fighter moving in the right direction.
Just before we go on to Andy and move on, Matty, I'm sure the chat will be delighted for this, but just going back to the women briefly, Estrada turned pro in 2011. I know she had a beef with Golden Boy and she had to get away from that, fought Esparza. We've seen the likes of the Groat, Savannah Marshall, McCaskill, girls at higher weights, Katie Taylor, unifying divisions, becoming undisputed. Sure, Serrano's done it about 6 or 7 divisions, going up and down, no problem. Estrada seems to be one of the more talented women boxers around. Yet, how come it's taken her 13 years to finally get to the point of becoming an undisputed champion of division? I know she's won titles at flyweight, superfly, and then she's eventually found her home at strawweight. How come it took her 13 years to unify a division ultimately?
That's a good question, and I think if I was to just take a guess, I think it would be money related, because a lot of the fighters in those lower divisions, be it men or women, are oftentimes from poorer countries, oftentimes Southeast Asia and stuff like that. So I think maybe it just might have been one of those things, considering the development of women's boxing as a moneymaker, that they just couldn't make those opportunities. It does seem basic whenever titles seem to be held by people within the North America, South American continents. They seem to get them together, even with Europe. But there haven't been as many unifications when it comes to the Southeast Asian title holders, which tend to hold some of them lower weight belts.
Yeah, that's a fair point. And the fact that she split from Golden Boy, they were mentioning on the telecast as well, was down to money. So I think Matty's assertions are correct there. Andy, anything from the undercard from you, particularly the heavyweight that we're all following, Richard Torres Jr.? He's exciting. He comes to fight, knocking these guys out in 1 or 2 rounds. These big fat lumps, man. It's going to get people interested, but it's going to be Edgar Berlanga syndrome. When's he going to step up, and what's he going to look like when he does step up?
Yeah, hopefully someone could ask Uncle Bob that very question, mate. I was actually thinking about this during the week. Well, when I was watching the fight. This was Friday night, I think it was. Yeah,
Yep.
it was. What is, maybe Matty's wanting to ask, what is the route now for any up-and-coming fighter, regardless of weight division, in terms of titles? What happened to the NABF title? The USABA, whatever it was, that type of title and that, because it seems
they still exist, but like nobody gives a fuck anymore.
I mean, surely they've got to be better than the trash he's been fighting. I mean, he's 8-0. Was it 7 knockouts? Whatever it is. 9-0, 9 knockouts. I think he's been pushed 8 rounds in one of them.
Wasn't Curtis Harper took him almost the distance in the last fight? Was it?
No, well, I think so, but we don't know, mate, until we moves up in class. But again, we're going to be saying this. I don't know how long we'll see the next opponent with another 41-year-old, 280-pound heavyweight that nobody's ever heard of, and we'll get demolished in 1 or 2 rounds or whatever. And that. Maybe the other occasion will get extended. But in terms of undercard, I like to look at that Art Barrera. Interesting me fighter.
Yeah, he's a sharp fighter, isn't he? I didn't. My flight was delayed by about an hour and a half, so I didn't catch as much live as I wanted to. But I saw that a lot of this morning. He was sharp, and that was only his 4th outing. And his opponent, it seemed like a decent boxer. He had a good stick, reasonable defense, and he just opened him up. Andy, I was pretty impressed.
Yeah, decent me fighter. And there was someone else actually I was going to mention.
That Delgado knockout was pretty good. He was in bad shape in that fight, losing on the cards, in my opinion, before he found the shots in there. And that short right hand that he finished it off with was beautiful, just beautiful shot.
I think it was Alan. Was it Alan Garcia? Is the one that's trained by he's trained by
Gloria Alvarado.
Yeah, Matty was mentioning here. Yeah, Garcia looks good actually.
Aye, she was in his ass the whole night for however the fight lasted, and that kind of keeping on him, and So she seemed quite good as well. So Alan Garcia, but Torres, needs to up it, mate. Valdez, fair play to him. The Estrada fight, I had it on in the background. I think Mike, I caught a comment by Mark Kriegel saying this is the type of, I think it was kind of based along the lines you were saying, Steve. That type of fight needs more than 2-minute rounds. It really does. I mean, if that is the best of the best of the best of that division or that weight class, whatever it is, then they need to be fighting 12 threes minimum.
I think it turns them into frenzied throwers, Andy. I think they just come out flying heads, arms, elbows everywhere.
Yeah, it's like an amateur fight.
Yeah.
You know, it's like an amateur fight. Oh, you've got 3 rounds. You've got to do it. You've got to do it in these next 9 minutes, for example. And it's just, you should say, it looks messy, it's scrappy. It doesn't it doesn't call into question the real fatigue. Going in there to 10, 11, 12 rounds, 3 minutes. To see if I think it would be a completely different fight. A lot of these fights would be completely different at that level, I would think, in terms of possible stoppages as well. But we'll not know until it happens, mate. I think there's a few women that are kind of wanting to go down the 12 threes, but you kind of.
The problem is that they're not all in agreement on it.
Well, that's the thing. That you kind of start crying about.
WBC won't allow it, Andy, will they?
Who?
WBC won't allow them. They say it's not safe. It's not
that's
safe
why
for the
Serrano
women.
dumped her belt. She said, "Fuck off."
For the little useless women to be throwing punches for 12 rounds.
Who the fuck is the WBC to tell a woman that kind of throw punches for 12 rounds for 3 minutes?
They say that they have medical science on it.
What?
They've done all these tests, haven't they, on it, apparently?
Yeah, it's all bullshit.
They have
skull thickness and this, blood, this, that, and the other.
But that's bollocks, man.
People in white coats, Andy. Come on, man.
Marvin Hagler had a thicker skull than everybody else. Does that mean Marvin Hagler should be the only person fucking fighting?
Joe Joyce
is
had a bigger skull than everyone else, and that didn't save his ass.
I'll tell you what, you walk up to a woman who's gave birth to 2, 3, 4, 5 children, by the way, and you say to her, "Oh, by the way, you're not getting the fight here for 12 fucking threes because Mauricio Sulman for WBC told you that you can't." Who the fuck's he?
Oh dear.
On the undercard though, something else. But speaking of Valle, the fact that she got through that cut too, I didn't even mention that, was incredible. She did a very good job fighting through that cut from the butt early. But Emiliano Vargas taking the distance for the first time in his pro career on this card. And I thought he gave some interesting looks, and I liked what he was doing in there. He might have gone the distance, but he showed a lot of variation in what he was doing. He boxed a little, he fought a little, he fought from both sides. There's a lot to take in there. But then after the fight, a little bit, there was a very emotional exchange. I don't know if you caught it, between with all the Vargas brothers out there and their dad. And their dad just started breaking down crying, speaking of Valdez and his crying. But it was interesting for him because, and I got to give play to him, because what's at work there is you got a guy who might not have had it all, growing up, and some people made some mistakes around him, and that's where a lot of that anger was in Vargas. And what he's done with these boys and bringing them up and the closeness that they have, I feel that he has a lot of pride in what he's done as a father and as a man. And I'm excited for this family coming up, because it is a cool story. And, these kids aren't, Campbell Hatton kind of fighters. I mean, they have some real potential, some real talent, real grit. And so, God love the Vargas family. We got another generation that's going to bring us some amazing memories.
And you don't need the DNA test for any of them, especially Emiliano. He's an absolute spit of the old man, isn't he?
Ain't that the damn truth? Ain't that the damn truth? Hopefully his career goes a little bit longer, because for Vargas, he only fought pro for about 10 years.
Yeah. I loved him. I thought he was brilliant. But he fought everybody, didn't he? And he didn't win them all, but he fought them all.
Yeah, that fight with Trinidad was fucking vicious. The fight with Oscar was fun until Oscar was able to gain hold and finish it off. Even the Mayorga fight was a blast. He didn't win that one. I don't remember it being all that close, but even the shit talking in the run up was great. Like the guy was a credit to boxing. He's one of those people that brought eyes onto the sport, and it was good value inside and outside of the ring, which is the best combination.
Yeah, go and look up Fernando Vargas. I know we're at the age now where listeners don't remember these fighters, but He was like 22, 23 when he fought Trinidad, and he'd already beat Ronald Winky Wright, Corte, Raul Marquez, Yuri Boy Campas, Ross Thompson. I'm probably forgetting some here. Like, I mean, he was. I thought he was brilliant.
Yeah, and that's probably why he had a 10-year career, because he was in so
exactly.
many wars. Like you look through his resume, like what easy touches exist on there. It was just battle after battle. So, but yeah, total badass, and that was a great time in boxing. 147 and 154 pounds from like 97 to 2005. That was some seriously good boxing.
Yeah, MB says, talking about the women again, it's not safe, but it's fine for a guy juiced to the gills punching you in the head. Good point from MB there. Chuck Crew says the Winky win was controversial. It was a close fight, actually. It was a close fight. Ryan Deal has thrown in 10 New Zealand dollars. Not sure how much that's worth, but we thank you for it. Tank begging the judge for a 5 stretch to avoid the beating Pitbull. Give him Bivol to do the same to Beetle Beef. Then Garcia to pick up a vacant WBA regular next year to fulfill the prophecy. Ryan Deal has spoken there. He's thrown his money in as well. Thank you very much. Ryan is in the chat alongside all the other boys listening to episode 566 of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast. Matty's here. Andy's here as well with me. Steve, maybe Rob will jump on at some point. Marku against Congo is in round 5 for me. Des says Marku isn't a big puncher, more a thunder. Chris would stand with him for a bit, stop jumping out of range. That can look a bit like you're being knocked about. Congo in the driving seat so far. I agree with you, Des. I picked Marku by stoppage, more to do with Congo's deficiencies. I think if it's boxer for boxer, confidence, Congo should be outboxing this guy like he is at the moment. Get on the jab, stand back, don't let him come into range so easily. But I think that Congo will fold. But at the moment, we're halfway through the fight and he's doing okay as he ships a left hook as I speak. Anyway, let's move on to the rest of the stuff from the weekend and then on to next week's action. I was in Belfast last night. Nothing on the undercard really to speak about. Chief support was Ruan Farrell beating Conor Kerr on points for the BUI Celtic Super Bantamweight fight. Good domestic scrap. And Kurt Walker, I've been critical of him in the past. He's a former Olympian from Lisbon. He's a bit of a feather duster man, but he performed really well against James Beach Jr. Stepped up to the occasion. First headliner. They retired Beach after 7 rounds. Walker was really accurate. Excellent footwork. Good head movement as well. He couldn't punch, but his accuracy was there. And Beach took a beating, really. So, fair. Yeah, the Celtic title fight was brilliant, says MB. The atmosphere was really good in the Ulster Hall. Also, the same night, while this was going on, over in Bulgaria, Derek Osaze, Del Boy the Punching Preacher, as he's known, from London, was going in against Joel Julio, who's now got 20 losses on his record. Remember him from back in the day? Bit of a puncher. Tervel Pulev as well.
He fought Golovkin back in the day, by any chance?
I don't think he fought Golovkin. He fought Carlos. Do you remember he was a prospect and he was knocking everyone out, and then he lost to Carlos
He was Dan
Quintana.
Raphael's prospect of the year.
Dan Raphael thought he was going to go and dominate. I think he might have fought Cotto. I'm not sure. He lost to Carlos Quintana, and then his career just went off the skids. Then he was a Colombian puncher, and now he's got 20 losses, and he's fighting London novices in Bulgaria. But anyway, Tervel Pulev was there, Andy, against Rolly Lambert Foguam, and Igor Shevatzutsky, who was supposed to be Manuel Char, went in against Kubrat Pulev. Did you see anything of this? I was obviously in Belfast, so I didn't.
Yeah, the old trusty VPN came into good handiness here last night, mate. Free air on Bulgarian TV, so your man here decided to watch that instead of the show that you were at. I missed the brothers fight, but as I says to you before we started, that Kubrat Pulev fight was shit. I mean, the guy that he was fighting, the Ukrainian, remember Bakoli smashed him up in about 2 or 3 rounds. I mean, bludgeoned him. And Pulev laboured there last night. Obviously, again, he's another one who's had a change of opponent late notice. Manichar appears after the fight with the arm in a some sort of kind of brace or whatever it was. Getting booed by the crowd, apologising.
He needs to pack it in, man.
Oh, fuck those. I think he's been meant to defend that WBA title for God knows how long. Many times in that, but Fraser Quendo's been meant to be challenging for it, you know.
Someone tried to shoot him, didn't they? They're that desperate to get rid of him.
Exactly, mate. I seen a little video the other day that David introduced himself to David Hay, and David Hay's like, he's like, who the fuck's this guy? And he says, oh, Manny Chara, how you doing? Such, how you doing? Pulev, again, another one, mate. I mean, it was in Bulgaria. It's in his home city. It's like a morgue. There's the atmosphere in the place. I think the best thing that happened the whole night was the brother knocking over the cameraman which we'll get to in Belly of the Week probably.
Yep.
It was, as I say, it was a labour performance, mate. And the guy he was fighting, as I say, he's a journeyman, and I've seen him handled by like Bacola, who's meant to be like world rated. And if that's the level that Pulev is meant to be fighting at this point, of that, then his levels are washed, mate. Way beyond levels are washed at this point. So, and also as well, I don't know if there was some sort of belt on the line, but there was a WBA trinket put around about his shoulder there after the fight. So I don't know what the fuck was going on with that.
Anyone can get it.
Yep.
The WBA titles.
Yep, anybody can buy one, mate. Toys R Us, £10.
Talking about WBA titles, Matty, I'm not so sure how much you saw of the cruiserweight fight last night in California, but it was a cracker. And the YouTube theatre, no less, Arsene Goulamirian, who has had about 3 fights in the last 6 years, 27-0, is now defeated. Went in against 46-1 Gilberto Zurdo Ramirez. Ramirez looked a little bit pudgy to me, but he fought the fight of his life. I thought he was absolutely superb. Now, Goulamirian was made for him. He stood there in front of him, very slow-footed, big puncher, neglected the body completely, which I was surprised about. Tried to throw hooks to the head, never stopped trying. Had Abel Sanchez in his corner, but Ramirez was superb. His hands were there, right hook, the left hand coming over, the uppercut, shots to the body. He controlled Goulamirian and he lasted the pace for the full 12 rounds, which I was surprised about. All scores at it, 118, 110. Only gave Goulamirian the champion 2 rounds. Ramirez looked superb. Matty, did you see it?
I caught some highlights of it, and Ramirez did look really good. He seems to have found his footing at cruiserweight. He's got a huge frame. He's 6'3", and he's not like a beanpole or anything like that. So it's good that he's found himself in a comfortable weight class. He's always been a high volume, high output kind of guy with a wide variety of punches. He just, walked into a master boxer in Dmitry Bivol, and it is what it is. What are you going to do? Hopefully, now that he's in a weight class where he doesn't have to struggle to make the weight, he'll continue to have some quality fights. But I would have to take Apataya against him. I think Apataya is the king by a stretch of that division.
I agree, Andy. I'd take Opatayo against anybody. I think he's fantastic, and I'm looking forward to his fight against Brady. As for Ramirez, we've seen him in the past. He's laboured. God knows how he ever made super middleweight. He's talking about fighting at heavyweight now. But I just think it was just a quality boxer against a basic one-dimensional slugger. I think Ramirez put his shots together lovely, especially the uppercut. It was just working all night.
Yeah, I mean, you actually appreciate it more the more you watch it in high speed, because you actually see it in more quicker, fluid motion.
Yeah.
It's absolutely brilliant, because you mentioned that he did do a lot of that off the back foot, and he was rolling, and he was doing it, as says, he was sliding, and he was in picking shots down the middle. He rolled to the side, he put a shot in there, he dipped back to the middle. It was a really textbook classic boxing performance, whereas you mentioned Goulamirian is just like stepping in there, trying to use his size. And just try and wing away at him, and just, I don't know, hopefully maybe land something solid. I think another one I maybe picked to win as well, actually. But fair play to Ramirez. It was a performance I wasn't expecting, to be fair, and it's one of those type of performances actually, if you watch it, you can actually appreciate it a wee bit more, actually. So fair play to him. Not too sure about going up to heavyweight, mind you, but I think it was Sergio Moro was saying there last night. I'm trying to think any other Mexicans in terms of weight have been up that high and been successful. Picked up a world title.
No, it's the high. He's the first Mexican born. So the fact they said Mexican born indicates there's probably someone of maybe Mexican extraction has won one. But I noticed as well the fact that Canelo Andy Ruiz as well, exactly. And Canelo Munguia, Andy, on May the 4th, is the first time 2 Mexicans have fought each other in a world title fight above 160. So they don't really fare well, do they, above a certain weight?
Aye, certainly. So I don't see him kind of faring well up at heavyweight, to be fair.
No.
But saying that, if he's got a heavyweight who's going to come to him and just wing shots at him, you could maybe see him having his moments, picking his holes, and maybe able to box himself way. But we'd be like see him. Thomas Adamic. Remember, he went up to heavyweight. He was able to box the bigger guys and maybe get okay, they weren't great heavyweights, but he was able to box them and kind of get himself to a decision victory, something like that, possibly.
Yeah,
he made a good career out of filling that Prudential Center with sea-level opposition. Do what you got to do.
He had his. I'm sure he had his. Correct me if I'm wrong, Steve. Didn't you have his fights against
Steve Cunningham? were really good.
Paul Briggs, 2 fights.
Paul
We've been
Briggs.
known for punches from the past, 2 cracking fights.
I'm sure they were in front of the polls, or possibly were they not?
He was undefeated for WBC title. Adamek against Briggs. Then, as you said, Matty moved up. Chad Dawson, didn't he absolutely school him at light heavyweight? I think was that cruiserweight. Can't remember.
Yeah, I think so.
And then he fought Cunningham, and then he got that big payday against Klitschko, which is enough to set you up for life. I think he came back recently. Adamek, didn't he? About a month or 2 ago, I think he fought. Doesn't know what to do with himself. He's going to end up like Kovnacki if he's not careful.
I can remember losing my shit when he fought Klitschko, by the way. No, for the fact is that he was losing the fight, but the fact is I actually had him to go the distance in the fight.
Yeah.
I think he went like 9 rounds, and I'm shouting at survive, you bastard! Survive!
Oh, dear. As for the undercard, Kareem Hackett got knocked out by Rowdy Legend Montgomery. I didn't even see that fight. Dominguez beat Sanchez. Alexis Rocha returned from his loss to Santillan to defeat Frederick Lawson, who we last saw getting stopped by Virgil Ortiz. We mentioned earlier Andy Ricardo Sandoval got a retirement win over Carlos Buitrago, who should probably think about hanging them up. And this Joel Irate looks like a decent young prospect as well, who they're giving the shout. Anything on the zone undercard you got to see there?
I never seen any undercard, mate, to be fair. I have been keeping a wee kind of like one eye on Sandoval, but he's another one, as you mentioned earlier on there on the show, that he seems to be weight hopping between, he's middleweight and back down, and
flyweight, minimum weight, yeah.
And then he's back up to super flyweight now. And you're right, Buitrago has been out of the coast before and that. So, decent power, good body attacker, to be fair, but we just need to see him. He would definitely win some, definitely lose some. But he's a decent fighter. Never seen anything else on the undercard.
No problem. You didn't miss too much. Wednesday night, Matty, Pro Box Event Center. We love this kind of action. Omar Juarez getting a win over Clarence Booth. Starling Castillo. Him and Suero had the fight before. He's bounced back since then. Got a split decision win over Jesus Saracho. Some of the boys were saying that Saracho might have done enough, but one of the judges had it only 1 round to Saracho. I was only watching it on fast speed. The main one I was paying attention to was Joseph Blessed Hands Adorno. If only he would let those blessed hands go a little bit more. In against Nicholas Walters, the 38-year-old Axeman, last seen by us. I know he's had a couple of comeback fights recently, but last seen 10 years ago, getting completely demoralized and quitting against Lomachenko. Here he is on another run at lightweight or just above. I'm not really sure how he
It's going to be a lightweight, yeah.
How he made those, the featherweight, super featherweight or featherweight or whatever he was at, but he got the win. I thought he was well worthy of it. He just had that little extra bit of experience. He used his jab at the right times. And the fact that Adorno, we've seen him in the past, Matty, he's good when he lets the hands go, but he just doesn't let them go often enough.
Yeah, it's he's going to regret it, and he's a young man. You can't be getting outworked by these old guys. It's pretty ridiculous. But Walters did what he had to do. He worked behind his jab. When the distance closed, he went to the body and kind of stifled the action, and he got it done. I think maybe he got hurt at one point in time, but it was all in all a really good performance by Walters, who came in as I think like a 3-1, paying 3-1 as an underdog in there. So, but I thought the fight with Omar Juarez and Clarence Booth was really good. Mm-hmm. That was probably the most entertaining fight of the evening, in my opinion. Juarez having some struggles early, and then ultimately, I believe he came back and he stopped Booth, actually, who's a pretty sturdy operator. Maybe he didn't.
No, it was
it's a long. Oh, was it? It's a long time ago. I remember him landing some really hard right hands. Maybe he dropped him.
You've seen a lot of boxing since then, Matta.
It's been intense, Steve. It's been intense, and I do remember though that I thought that Saracho probably did enough to beat Starling Castillo there. I thought he worked far harder. I thought that he kind of was pushing him back more often than not. But it was a very well matched fight. But I will say, as well matched as these fights are, some of the scorecards on Pro Box are getting a little iffy, Steve.
Yeah, but we love Pro Box all the same. Let's tidy up anything else from the weekend then before we look ahead. So yeah, there was fights all over the place. Thursday night was Dmitry Salita. Vladimir Shishkin was on that fight. on that show, rather. He's 16-0 super middleweight, got a win over Mike Guy, who's 43. He's even older than all of us lot on the panel. He's still out there punching. There's no excuse for us basement dwellers. Shishkin stopped him in the 7th round, though. Showajon Ergashev returned from his loss to Matias to lay the hurt on Juan Huertas. First round knockout this was. Ergashev had an excuse for the Matias loss. He's desperate for the rematch, and as excuses go, it's pretty fair, actually. At the beginning of the telecast, they showed that he had been stabbed in the leg multiple times in Moscow 7 months before the Matias fight, and they were showing all these pictures of blood everywhere, and it was a machete attack. Must have been a bit of beef. You don't just get randomly stabbed like that, you wouldn't have thought. And there was all the scar tissue and all the scars and the sewing up and all up his leg, and he said that it just gave way against Matias. So we kind of believe him for that one. He wants the rematch anyway. He might get it. Nobody else wants to fight Matias. Juan Carrillo in the main event looks like an 80-year-old David Morrell, but he can punch and he puts his shots together nicely. He knocked out Quinton Rankin with a lovely little double right uppercut in the 3rd round. And Nadim Saloum was a bit of a favourite against William Townsell, but he lost over 8 rounds. And then the night after, also on DAZN bringing the boxing. Overtime Elite Arena. O'Shea Jones, she was an Olympian, got a win over Sonia Drayling. She's a bit of a faux goat. She's the fighter Shadazia Green could have been. She's
fucking throws, man. I was watching. I was impressed. I'm like, fuck, man. That gal going against her, she was pretty tough because she was eating some shots. There's just no sympathy in Jones. She was there to kick some ass.
Yep, she was there to kick some ass. Giovanni Marquez was there, Raul Marquez's son. He got a good win over Jason Velez, former world title challenger, now turning into a bit of a journeyman. Over 6 rounds, Haven Brady Jr. knocked out Valdemir Carril. The referee was desperate to throw Brady out of there, but he managed to knock him out anyway. And the ref got off his case in an absolute scintillating main event. Really enjoyed this one. Elijah Pius, he's making a name for himself. He's beefing with Gervonta Davis. He's a big puncher. He's calling out Naoya Inoue. He wants to fight him. He looks like a bit of an anorexic O'Shaki Foster. And he got really badly hurt and knocked through the ropes by Artur Villanueva. But it didn't stop him. He regrouped and came back. He's got a really fan-friendly style. He can definitely punch Pierce. I'm a fan. Hopefully he'll get a big shot at some point. He's supposed to be fighting Lorenzo Parra Jr.
I didn't like the way he got dropped, though, Steve. It was like really amateurish how you go, just throwing too hard, got totally squared up.
That's how he fights, man.
We'll see how this goes. I don't know if it's going to end well, but it'll be fun while it lasts, I guess.
It will indeed be fun while it lasts. He's gone in against Lorenzo Parra Jr. They brought him in the ring afterwards for a bit of beef, but he couldn't speak English, so they were beefing with each other through interpreters.
He's like, I don't know what he just said, but I got NyQuil in both these hands.
Didn't really land, but they tried their best on DAZN anyway. That was the main thing. What else have we got here? Somebody was dropping in. The rapping Rob Kelly's here. We'll go to him shortly. Ryan Deal's dropped in $2 New Zealand. Ergashev versus Kell Brook in Tenerife next. Oh my God, that's terrible, isn't it, that one? I had something else I was going to say, and I can't remember what it was now. Oh, yeah, on that DAZN card, there was a fight between Dakari Scott and Detralius Webster.
Those are some big boys.
Oh, these are some big... There we are. There's the boys there. There's Dakari Mack Truck Scott coming in at a sprightly 274 pounds.
At 6 foot tall, mind you. I think that's an important thing to add in there. He's not a 6'6" guy, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, against Detralius Webster, who is Teddy straight out Webster, and he was straight out, man. He was knackered after about a round, that fella, and he got stopped about 3 rounds later. He's 10 years old, and he come in at with a 18-pound weight advantage, but he wasn't able to make it count.
These guys, if they're going to do overtime boxing, they better have the fucking ambulance waiting.
They could barely make the ring walk. Anyway, that's all of that. Anything from the weekend, Matty, or the week, or anything that you might have caught that I didn't? I think we've pretty much covered everything.
I think that was plenty. The only thing I'm thinking of is I thought Beat Bop Boop had a question from last week that we needed to cover.
Yes, he did.
What that was.
Yeah, well remembered. We'll get to that. Andy, anything that you might have seen? Any German, obscure VPN Austrian action or something? No?
Nothing, mate. Nothing at all. Been quite quiet in that regard, thankfully.
Lovely stuff. Rapping Kelly has jumped on the call. Good evening, Roberto. How are you on this fine Sunday evening?
Well, what's the crack? Good, actually.
Quiet
enough so far. Yeah, it's been a long enough weekend of boxing, hasn't it? Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night action. What are we complaining about, all of us?
Great stuff. Not enough time to watch all these overtime boxing cards.
Yeah, Well, I saw Wilson Valdez, and I told you no Liam was going to be the fucking fella called Valdez. Just put that down as science from now on.
Maybe his brother Callum Wilson will get revenge.
If they go over, they can win domestic fights, but as soon as they go to the States with a name like Liam, you can't win a fight. Like, it's impossible. So that was, I thought Valdez looked good, actually. Maybe he's not, like, I wouldn't go as far as to say he's back to his best, and maybe he's kind of, I wouldn't say he's got like full resurgence, but it was a routine enough win for him. I expected him to win, and the stoppage was pretty good. Interesting that your man kind of hung in and got stopped rather than off an accumulation of shots rather than a one punch thing, because he certainly caught him crisp enough. Like, but yeah, I thought that was a good decision by the referee to stop it. That Pierce fight and Villanova fight, I was watching that. That was good entertainment value. That was right, a little scrap actually. And then Raleigh, poor Raleigh, man. Like, that was me fucking, that fucked up my predictions for the week, because I even changed it on the boxing news app one, because I had picked Cruz KO first, and I went back and fucking stuck to my guns on Raleigh for the KO. Like,
we went to bat for Raleigh, and what does he do to us, Rob? What the fuck does he do to us?
I felt so, like, but like I said, when looking at it, when I was looking at it, I was like, I should not be one bit surprised here. Like, I've seen him fight like this multiple times throughout his fucking career. He just wasn't up against anybody who was going to chase him down the ring and fucking tear his head off. Like, because Tank waits on you just to make mistakes, doesn't he? And then he just punishes you to turn the lights out. But Cruz is a different type of animal. Like, he went from him. I don't think he took too kindly to that Chihuahua chain, by the way. I think Raleigh's antics in the lead up were actually. He looked a bit oblivious to it all up until fight week, didn't he? Pitbull Cruz. Then he was like really like a pitbull, like on the lead, run to get let off. And this how do you say, they sicked him on fucking Raleigh, and he fucking ran across the ring, and then he took his head off in the first round and then got to him in the 7th and 8th. And poor Raleigh was so fucking, had so much CTE in the post fight, he just started saying Happy Easter to everybody. You know, what the fuck was after going on? The biggest Happy Easters in boxing since fucking Robert Easter Jr. got off with Alicia Baumgartner.
I wonder if that's why he got shot.
Well, let's hope so. And then Tszyu Fundora turned into be the fucking fight that we thought it might be, like a way better fight than fucking Thurman and Tszyu would have been. And Fundora has actually obviously been listening to me on the pod now, and he's fucking using his jab for once, because he boxed.
That's what I said earlier. Finally, Rob.
Yeah, fucking finally. Like, he showed how difficult a fucking fighter he can be to beat, because Tszyu's not a mug. I think he's there on merit, not just name. He's been well matched, but he's had some fucking tough fights, and fights that you would have expected him to have problems in, and he's dealt with them all quite easily. Now, I know everyone's saying, like, what was it, 6 weeks notice or something for Fundora? Well, Fundora had the same. Was it 2 weeks? Yeah, well, Fundora had the same, and he's coming off a loss as well, knockout loss, didn't he? Like, so you can't really kind of use that as an excuse. He's not the favourite PBC guy.
They both come out with credit, Rob, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think Tszyu was talking about this being a throwback era, his era being a throwback era before the fight. He wants to fight everybody. So if you do that and you come up against a guy like Fundora and you lose a split decision, it's not the end of the world. Like, the cut, I think, obviously had an effect on it. It was a bit of a bloodbath then, wasn't it? Like, but I don't think Tszyu looked like stopping him at any stage. I don't think he looked like really getting to him and breaking him down. I thought Fundora used his reach well for once and fucking dug in there himself. Like, so I think there's a rematch clause, isn't it? So I'd love to watch it again, even though Earl Spence was in the ring. Earl had bet like fucking 20 grand on Fundora or something, apparently. So he was fucking holding his bet slip after the fight. He was pretty happy with that.
I only bet 10.
Yeah. And something like that, something crazy like that. And then I don't know where that puts the fucking 154 pounders now, like if they're going to have the rematch, because Crawford, I think, had hedged his bets thinking Tim Tszyu was going to win that fight. Now he's going to fucking come off and fight a fucking fella 7 foot tall. It's like getting to the fucking final level of fucking Game of Death. It's like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Like, just fucking,
that's a great fucking reference.
So I don't know. Like, I don't know if that's an easy fight for anyone at 154 Fundora. Like, but love watching him like that. Thought he was brilliant last night for a guy 6'6", start pumping the jab, and the two of them didn't give an inch. It was a highly entertaining fight. And then after that, then I think I just watched I watched the Vidal Riley and Lara fight earlier when I was on the background. Riley won I think Riley won decision, did he? Looked like he was in the handy anyway when I was watching it.
Yeah, he did.
And I didn't see. I was watching a bit of Marco and Congo, which is not a bad scrap actually. And Ben Whittaker, I'm assuming, won. I saw his ring walk. I didn't see the.
Went the 8 rounds.
Did it win the? Did it go the full?
Yeah, win the distance.
Good stuff. All right, okay. Well, we wish him well.
Yeah. Well,
they found the ring anyway, apparently. So that was a good start.
Yeah. It is a vital component of any boxing match, so I'm glad they found the ring. Oh, Mike Goodall. I'm sure he wasn't raging about that whatsoever. Dominic has jumped on the call to join us as well. There you go.
Just when you thought you were going to get an early night, fellas.
What have you got for us, Dominic?
Oh, have you covered Mendoza and Bohachuk?
We have briefly, but feel free to insert your 2 pence worth.
Yeah, I was just interested in the fight. Actually, I was watching it. I wasn't watching it live last night. I was a bit behind, but as I said to you earlier, as the fight wore on, I found it hard viewing just the amount of punishment Mendoza was taking. I thought Bohachuk was decent. Like he looked like a nightmare to fight against. But God, Mendoza, I was just looking at him thinking, this isn't going to end well for him in years to come. You know, like he's just far too tough for his own good. But yeah, I was disappointed for Tim Tszyu. I thought he was really hard done by. Well, not hard done by. Just I thought he deserves a rematch at the very least. And yeah, as Rob said, it's going to be interesting what Crawford does. It's sort of thrown a spanner into the works of it in terms of what we thought we were going to see next. But one thing I'm sure is I don't really want to see Spence involved in anything. I have no desire to see him against any of these guys really. But yeah, it's what did you think of Bohachuk and Mendoza, Steve?
Yeah, no, I was the same as you. I thought I watched it after you'd given me your sort of analysis on the WhatsApp and all, but I thought Bohachuk boxed pretty well. He boxed to his strengths really, and Mendoza, yeah, he leaves it late. I think he is quite a limited guy, but he can punch in the right situation. He catches people at the right place at the right time. But he's against a certain level. If you get on top of him, and don't forget, Fundora was beating the shit out of him before he caught him. And Tszyu was give him a good going as well, but couldn't get rid of him. He's very tough, but he will soak up those shots. And as you say, yeah, CTA, if he's not careful, he's too tough for his own good.
What age is he now? Is he about early
30, maybe? I think, or up or over under something around 30, I think.
Do you know what I actually thought looking at him? I thought you look at Bohachuk and he's big, and I thought Mendoza looked more like a welterweight than a light middleweight, but just the way the leverage he was getting on them shots, Bohachuk. It was interesting actually. I know there's been a lot of criticism of Joe Goosen or his commentary, but there was actually an interesting debate going on during the Bohachuk fight. I don't know if you picked up on it, but you know, Joe Goosen was commenting on the instructions that Bohachuk's trainer Manny Robles was giving him, and Manny Robles was sort of imploring him to try and box at mid distance, and Goosen kept on saying that's what I would be telling him not to do, because that's where Mendoza has a chance to counter him with that left hook as he's coming in. That, you know, Bohachuk was doing just fine right on Mendoza's chest, you know, working away, and there was no room for Mendoza to get that leverage. But yeah, I think Bohachuk will be interesting in the mix going forward. But yeah, let me see what else. Well, yeah, Tszyu, I thought he looked in those. The cut came right at the end of the second round, if I remember, and I thought he looked very good in that short period of time. Those first 2 rounds, I thought he looked very good. Now it's interesting. I've heard a few. I can't remember who said it earlier. Someone said that they felt after the cut, Tszyu didn't make enough of an effort to really get inside Fundora and you know, try and end the fight. But I felt sympathy for him. Like it was the blood was just pissing right into the eye, and he was just trying to stop it from blinding him. You know, he couldn't really focus on putting out any offense as far as I could see. But Yeah.
Someone was saying that it might have been a bit of inexperienced corner work that because the cut was accidental, you should have been looking to get that fucking fight stopped on the cut.
That's what I thought, Rob, actually, to be honest with you. They were doing their best to keep it going, the fight going. I thought around the third round, they would have looked at this and thought, you know what, this is fucking terrible cut, man.
Let's do it again with a full camp. Like, we showed him in 2 rounds that we can get to him a little bit. Now he's getting on top. This is a bollocks. The cut's right on top of the fucking head. Like, let's fucking pull it. But I suppose they come all that way to America. They want to make a statement. I don't think he probably would have wanted to pull out, but
I'm glad you said that, because I thought that at the time and I'd forgotten about that, actually. Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't.
Well, I think it must have been Tszyu's, like, it must have been, he must have wanted to carry on, and the corner it's probably difficult for the corner to suggest it to him when he's coming back to the corner at the end of a round, like at the end of the third round, and say, here, how did they broach it with him? How did they raise the issue? Do you want to like get the ref to stop this fight so we can get it called a no call?
He would have just said no, wouldn't he? Because his character is very stubborn, isn't he?
I think. Do you remember when Robert Garcia was in the corner for Mikey and he was fighting Salido and he was fucking pinging the head off Salido? He was dropping him all over the place, and then Salido was getting dirty, like, and he dragged the fucking heads together and kind of fucking butted Mikey and broke his nose. Garcia got that fucking fight straight to the scorecards because he wasn't getting Salido any fucking momentum to foul his way back into the fight. He just fucking pulled it straight away. He was like, right, doctor, we got to get a look at this. Nose is broken, and they went straight to the cards. And I just think somebody a bit sharper should have gone to the cards before round 4, and they would have got an ND or whatever and get to go again on a full camp. Like,
well, I was thinking the comparison that came to my mind was the last cut I can remember that was in that sort of same severity was the Beterbiev against Marcus Brown. But that was sort of slightly different. That cut was right in the middle of his forehead, and I think it was a very difficult cut to control, but it was just a bit easier to control than what Tszyu had last night. Tszyu's cut seemed to be just at that, where his hair sort of, it was cut very tight, almost shaven, and it just doesn't meld it into his forehead. That's where the cut seemed to be.
But did you see the cut afterwards as well, Dominic, when they cleared it up? It was a terrible cut. It wasn't even just a straight cut either. It was like a zigzag kind of shape.
It was deep as well, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was. I think, some of the guys were saying, like, I'm no expert on like how to deal with cuts, but some of the guys were saying that, it didn't look like they had all the sort of substances that Joe Goosen was talking about, that you apply all these adrenaline things to sort of staunch the flow of the blood. But I just got the sense, looking at that cut, that you could have had the best cut man in the world. It would have been a very tough job to stop that blood pissing into Tszyu's eyes. So I thought Tszyu did I thought he did well to stay in the fight, really, and to sort of get to the end of the fight. It was just a freak. It's just a freak cut, one of those things. Like, just the way the cut happened, it was, it was the elbow, the bottom of the elbow, and so I hope he gets the rematch. And if he, I think if he wins the rematch, we'll sort of say, well, a defeat, it's not, you forget about it if it's avenged and you move on. And I hope that's what happens. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what Crawford does now that the Tszyu fight probably can't happen. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. Yeah.
Well, people are saying now that he might be stuck with Boots because Ellerby and them were saying, like, listen, fucking Bud didn't sign a multi-fight deal with PBC. Errol Spence did, and Tszyu is not the PBC. Tszyu is not the PBC guy or Fundora. So if PBC wants Spence to have a title at 54 again and they want him in with Fundora, you're going to see Fundora versus Spence next. Like,
I would rather see Crawford against Boots, to be honest with you. That's just me as a fan. I want to see.
It'd be a better fight, yeah. It'd be a better fight.
Better fight. And if Crawford, if he could win that, at the moment, you would have to still make him favourite. Although I agree with you, Rob, but I would expect Boots to give him a very good fight. But if Crawford could win that and then tempt either Tszyu or Haney or both up to 47 for some fights and win those, and I think he should retire after that. But it's hard for Crawford because he's looking for those big fights, maybe even at 54 and 60, and they're just not there. The names and the size of the fight that he's looking for the money, it's just not available at the minute. I don't think he's going to get the Canelo fight. Can't see that happening. I don't think Canelo will want he said it before, if he wins, everyone will say, well, you were expected to beat him. So I just can't see Crawford getting that fight that he wants, with Canelo fight.
Well, Dominic, regarding Canelo then, if the winner of Beterbiev versus Bivol, say, fights Benavidez next, does this mean Canelo is in danger of like being frozen out almost, or put into a position of irrelevance and left behind?
No, I don't think so, because I think Canelo's is I think his mindset has sort of shifted since the Bivol fight. I think he just wants to avoid
Play golf.
I think if he is going to take a big fight, it'll be his very last fight. And he'd probably have the Berlanga fight could be there. I can't see him fighting someone like David Morrell, put it that way. I can't see him taking a fight like Morrell. I still have a slight hope that he might take the Benavidez fight. I think he might take the Benavidez fight in September. I think he's maybe trying to wait Benavidez out, and make him have to make super middleweight for the rest of this year. As opposed to, if Benavidez fought Canelo in May, it would have been his last fight at 68. I think it's something like that maybe Canelo's thinking about. But from the mood music that's coming out is that Benavidez wasn't, and his team, Samson, Lukovitz, and the rest of them, they weren't trying to drive a hard bargain. They were agreeing to all the terms. Like that seems to be, there doesn't seem to be any suggestion that Benavidez was asking for more than he's worth. So you have to sort of wonder why didn't the fight get made? But I have a slight hope, as I say, that Benavidez and Canelo might happen in September. But yeah, it's only a slight hope.
I think out of all the options, yeah, it might well be. And I saw earlier Floyd was saying, "Oh, Canelo has nothing left to prove," and Canelo was kind of reacting to this, saying, "Oh, well, Floyd said I have nothing left to prove." But then Dominic makes all these comments with his own legacy in mind, like he doesn't give a shit about Canelo.
I don't want to see Floyd and Ellerby. These guys, they're just parasites. Just don't even want to see them. They're nauseating.
I don't know if anybody's seen the Ellerby's interview recently with Fight Hype, and it was about Eddie Hearn. That motherfucker's nostrils flared up bigger than usual by then. He was fucking fuming.
I think he's had work done to the nose.
Is it possible?
I think he's had that surgery he's had done.
But like Daniela Westbrook.
Yeah, possibly.
I mean, can you imagine? They need to use tampons for Q-tips to try and get man, eh?
He just has a really bad cold, Andy. Come on, lay off him. Des says big announcement in the ring. Harlem Eubank. Go on, Dom.
No, you go ahead, Safe.
No, I was just going to say, Des said big announcement in the ring. Harlem Eubank versus Adam Azim has signed. Those two were facing off. Harlem Eubank was in Belfast last night at the Ulster Hall show, actually. And he's jetted his way back to confront Adam Azim. Also, Sam O'Hara Childs, that's some name. It says, a gesture egg from me, lads. Thanks very much there. £2. Not much of a gesture there, Sam, but...
Hey, we appreciate all.
It's one of them little eggs. I'm only joking. Thanks very much.
Conor Benegg, we're going to fucking pop hearts after that.
We appreciate it. Thank you very much, Sam. What else have we got? Oh, I beat Bot Boop. Can't forget about him, Matthew. Let's see what he's saying. We'll go to you, Matty. He says, what's the crack, lads? This was his $4.99 from last week. He says, another what-if question. Joe Lewis versus Jack Johnson. Never mind about them. Never mind about Wardley against Clark tonight, which is about to go down, Matty. What about Joe Lewis versus Jack Johnson? Who wins if those two were to go at it?
That's a really interesting question. Like, and I think it's really interesting because, Joe Lewis, obviously one of the absolute greatest of all time, but Jack Johnson was, kind of the first of the modern boxing style. I don't know. He was just a different level of badass. And it's just kind of that generational question of just does badassery overwhelm the advantages that Lewis would have obviously had in speed and I think better technique as well. Man, that's a tough question. 15-round fight. I'd have to lean Johnson. I don't know.
I think the way Schmeling beat him in the first fight, beat Joe Lewis in the first fight, you'd say Jack Johnson probably could do something similar. But the way Joe Lewis could punch, there's a possibility he catches Johnson as well with his head in the air. Like, so who knows? Like, I know Bert Sugar reckons that Joe Lewis is the greatest heavyweight of all time. So I'd lean with Bert Sugar on that one. I go Joe Lewis, maybe decision.
Interesting, Andy. Yeah, you could imagine Lewis with that ramrod jab, the activity, the better technique. But Johnson, very athletic, very smart, going those 26 rounds against the likes of Willard and all these guys, Jim Jeffries and that. He has the athleticism and the speed. Over 15 rounds would be a hell of a fight.
Aye, it would be, mate. I mean, obviously, I'm just trying to pull up Jack Johnson's record here to find out how many rounds he'd went in total in one fight. I'd see 20 rounds here.
Was it 20? What was the fight against Willard? Didn't that end up in about 25, 26 when he was in Cuba, wasn't he? He ended up lying on his back with his arm draped over his...
Round 26 of 45 rounder.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, I suppose it's widely conceived that Johnson was like, as Matty says, one of the modern heavyweights. It's what we know now. He knew he was good. He grappled with you. If he couldn't do nothing with him. One of the great stories I've always read about him was like when he got done for speeding, and he got fined $50, and they paid the policeman $100, and the copper says, "You've paid me $100. It's only $50." He says, "I'm coming back the same way, mate." So things like that can get rid of people's noses and that. And I suppose a total flip side, Joe Lewis was like given like the commandment, shall we say, don't mix with white women, don't speak down to the white person, all this fucking bollocks. Where Jack Johnson just binned all that shit, and he just done his own thing to the irk of the government. But we're on about the fight itself. I think it's a hard one. I think prime Joe Lewis wins. Jab, right hand, the power as well. I don't think, again, the footage I've got of Jack Johnson is good. I've got quite a few of his fights, but in terms of how he fought as a fighter and that, I think moving forward, what was it, 20, 30 years, the terms of styles had actually changed exponentially. As you say, or Rob says, Joe Lewis is considered one of the greatest heavyweights of all time. Maybe interchangeable with Ali as top 1 and 2 in history. But I would probably say Jack Johnson, Joe Lewis wins. Don't know how. Probably again in terms of rounds, how many rounds we're going to go here and.
Matty was saying 15, and you were right about the styles, Andy. I always take that. That's why I think these are difficult, these kind of questions. Not so much between Lewis and Johnson, but if you go further, say if you were saying, I don't know, Klitschko against Johnson, you're looking at completely different styles.
Bob Fitzsimmons versus Roy Jones Jr.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
One
of them's like pugilist, like Benson like a kangaroo and all.
Well, as Rob's quite rightly mentioned in the past when we discuss fights, especially when this one hasn't got a wide time span, but you do get fights we discuss as well, wide time spans. Rob says, look, you got to give the guy back in the day the benefit of hindsight of having the modern day training techniques, the modern day diets, the modern day medical attention, dietitians and all that type of stuff compared to the modern day fighters and how they would. Because look at Joe Gans back in the 1910s. That guy was fighting with fucking TB, man, fighting Battler Nelson for fucking 45 rounds. It's fucking unheard of.
That's why, like in modern terms, I think it's kind of ridiculous to ask like how Rocky Marciano would have done against Tyson Fury or something like that. I think the better question is how
Rocky Marciano would have been fighting for a 168 title.
It's a matter more like how he would have done it cruiserweight, right? Like that. Yeah. I mean, he was weighing in 180, 185
against Arsene Goulamarian,
Matty. Gilberto Ramirez. So again, I think if you factor all that in, I would go with Joe Lewis. I'm going off like say,
even though Rocky Marciano whooped his ass.
It was 147 years of age.
Coked up version of fucking Joe Lewis, mate.
Yeah.
Prime for prime, I'll go Lewis on points. I'll go Lewis on points. But again, I'm just looking at the vitals and box records and how much to take it off here. There's not much in terms of size and reach. So Jack Johnson isn't going to have the same kind of luxury what he had over guys like Tommy Burns and Stanley Ketchel, and guys who were like 5'8". Tommy Burns was like a heavyweight, but he should have really been like if he was fighting nowadays, he should be really fighting at middleweight, super middleweight. Max Baer, he wasn't a big heavyweight. So I think you just got to kind of factor that in as well. So, but I would probably side on the modern guy and go with Joe Lewis.
Yeah, Des says Lewis was brilliant, a ruthless puncher. Harvey Bryce says, I hope you're right, Des. And Kaiser Cobra says Lewis overcomes early knockdowns and wins by late stoppage. Ryan Deal says Jonathan Guidry versus Prime Frezequendo. That would be a sight to behold if anyone remembers Frez's battles with the likes of Jamil, Big Time McLean, and whoever else he fought. I can't even remember. It was a terrible reign, wasn't it, Frez? Chris Bird, I think he might have fought. Ryan Deal throwing another $5 New Zealand.
Jesus Christ, Ryan.
Third contribution. No more
lottery?
money from you, Ryan. Don't be throwing any more money in. I'm going to refund you. He says, could Beterbiev win a Tour de France in the early 2000s? He wouldn't be able to get his head in the cycling helmet, Ryan.
He wouldn't need a helmet. Just
I've never thought about it. Has anyone ever explored the technique of just punching your fellow riders in the kidney as you go past? I mean, might have had it for a variety of reasons.
Beep Bop Boop's second part of his question was if Conor McGregor gets a fight, a boxing fight, who is it? I think he's fighting his demons at the moment, isn't he? Fuck's sake.
How's he doing?
He's behind on points, I think. I think there's talk of him fighting Manny in Saudi.
Gyllenhaal news, you know.
Manny in Saudi is the play, apparently, if he can't get his... Because I don't think the UFC want to touch him for some reason at the moment. And
Manny's fighting an exhibition, Rob, apparently on April the 20th against some Thai kickboxer, Bohachuk or something.
Bolo Young, out of kickboxer. That's who he's fighting.
Have you been watching fucking old kung fu movies for the last week?
Was actually, actually was, yeah.
Fighting Chuck Norris, then Williams. Oh dear me. Yeah, April 20th, same
true
night
story,
as
by the way. Well, I think it's a true story. Allegedly, the day Hitler killed himself was the day Chuck Norris was born, by the way. So he knew it was coming to him. He knew it was coming to him.
That's some random trivia for you.
There you go. A pub question for you by the end of the night. Hey, by the way, Chuck Norris was born and Hitler killed himself.
There is no theory of evolution, just a list of creatures that Chuck Norris is allowed to survive.
Look what happened to Bruce Lee, man. Fucking poor cunt.
Right, let's catch up before Bay of the Weeks on the final bits and pieces. Next week, Andy, in Germany, Saturday the 6th of April, Bakram Murtazaliev, 21-0, going in for the vacant IBF Super Welterweight title against Jack Kulkai. Kulkai lost to Andre, didn't he? He's since bounced back with a few wins. He beat Abbas Barrow, who again was in Belfast last night as well. Beat him in 2020. Who else has he fought? Lost to Derevanchenko. Kulkai is very experienced. This Murtazaliev, Andy, has a bit of a beast reputation about him, but I can't for the life of me think who he's actually fought, to be honest.
I'm trying to think now as well, mate. Actually, just to top of my head.
21-0, Russian-based in California. He's 6 foot, so he's pretty tall for Super Welter. He's beaten pretty much nobody that I can see. Elvin Ayala, but he's flipping agent. No, I don't see many names on his record now.
Roberto Gonzalez is a name that kind of rings a bell with me for something.
Yeah.
Lubin and Charlo back in the day, that's what it was.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know, mate. To be fair, Kulkai, you're saying he was a decent amateur back in the day. He's got a decent Euro level record, shall we say?
Didn't he give somebody of a higher level a pretty good fucking fight?
Dervachenko was.
There you go.
Andrade as well. He gave Andrade a good go, didn't he?
I'm sure he got beat off that light punching Polak as well. Did they know?
Oh, he's got 4 losses on his record.
Suluki, I think his name was.
The best thing about the Andrade one was a Bellew of the Week around that time. There was a guy from Rhode Island, a big Andrade fan called Ray Falco, I thought he was. And Dan Raphael had put out that the Kulkai Andrade fight was going to be a particular date in Germany. So Ray had gone along and booked his flights and his hotel accommodation. And then apparently it turned out it was going to be a different date. And Ray was on Twitter absolutely raging. My attorney's going to be informed about this and all this type of stuff. Trying to sue Dan Raphael.
Fucking attorney, by the way.
Mel B funding the fucking legal case.
Good luck with that one, baby. You fucking monk.
You kind of like, you feel sorry for fight fans in situations like that, but if you're booking a flight to go see Andrade, man,
exactly.
You know what I mean? You're kind of fucking asking for it, aren't you? Asking for disappointment.
I'll go with Kulkai on points, mate. Purely because I've seen more of him, to be fair.
He's a known entity. He doesn't get stopped. Yeah.
He's more steady, as you say. He doesn't get stopped. He's generally good for, the distance generally. If he gets beat, then it's generally on points. That so I'll go with Kulkai. I'll go something like a 116, 112 type. But this will be his last. I've just seen he's 38 now, so this will be his last chance. And yeah, like he fought Demetrius Andrade in the quarterfinals of the Worlds. So he's a top amateur back in the day in that
He
as
was
well.
a good amateur, yeah. Yeah. Right, let's get on to the final card of next week over in Las Vegas. Eddie Hearn, we'll go to you first of all, Matty. If there's anything you want to talk about on the undercard, you
final
can.
Card. You also have Tito Mercado fighting on DAZN on.
Oh yes, I forgot about
on
him. We'll
Friday
get to him
night.
as well.
Yeah,
There's
a couple little cards going on.
Okay, Sky Nicholson's in against Sarah Mahfood. Mark Castro stepping up against Abraham
I'm matching my way again for Sky Nicholson.
Pacheco, Sean McCalman's a decent fight. McCalman had a bit of a step up a couple of fights ago. Was it Money Powell? Marquis Moore, maybe is the one I'm thinking of. They put two unbeaten fighters against each other.
Money Powell, respect.
And then Richardson Hitchens in the final, in the main event, rather, against Gustavo Lemos. We were trying to work out where we'd seen him before. He's an Argentine who beat Lee Selby a couple of fights ago. It's not a bad card from Matchroom, that, Matty.
No, not bad at all. Pacheco was a big favorite over McCalman. If you're having a hunch there, Steve, big favorite.
Not really.
I think that Nicholson could be in tough against Mahfood. She has a wealth of experience against the better opposition in women's boxing. But this main event I'm really interested in because, Hitchens is obviously a skilled fighter. He's, I believe he is an Olympian, good amateur pedigree, excellent jab, obviously. Has the win over Zepeda recently, but now we kind of see where Zepeda's at. The Lemos, now he's going up to going up division. He missed weight for, I think it was an eliminator or something like that a while back, and had to jump a division. But this guy, he is a legitimate puncher in both hands. I know his record isn't pristine as far as his knockout ratio, but he can absolutely punch. There's a lack of opposition in there other than Lee Selby and maybe a couple of other people. But at more than 4-1, I think Lemos is worth a punt in here, because if there's anything that he will do in this fight, it's he will be trying to stay in Richardson and Hitchens' face all night long. And I think that might play more actually to the fight not going the distance. Might be probably maybe the wise bet on this one when those numbers come out. Because I could definitely see Hitchens taking advantage of a come forward opponent who definitely isn't the sharpest on defense. But I could also see Lemos giving Hitchens a very, very rough night and a physical fight that he might not have had in the pros yet to this point. So I think this main event is solid, and I don't think that the odds tell the tale.
Andy, I'm liking what Matty says there. It's got to happen. Lemos has got to tell us something about Hitchens that we haven't seen before. Hitchens is talented. The PBC even got fed up with him, and they don't get fed up with anybody, and let his contract expire. Eddie's picked him up. It was the John Bowser fight, I remember. He battered the shit out of Bowser and let him see the final bell, and I think he should have finished him off. He's definitely talented. Same against Malik Hawkins. Allowed that fight to become a lot closer than it needed to be. And against Lemos, he's not going to be afforded that luxury. This Argentine's got to put it on Hitchens, and I want to see what he's made of.
Yeah, I think we're discussing just before the start of the show, actually. I'm trying to remember the Argentine off the top of my head. I think it was you were mentioning the Lee Selby fight, but I didn't know how much stock to put into that, because obviously Selby at that point was well washed, and he was like years behind moving up in weight by that point. So other than that, the guy does look like he's a heavy banger, but we just need to wait and see. You're right about Hitchens. Like you see him step it up as well, but 17-0, still it's still kind of like young in terms of likes of what he's been doing in terms of his professional career and that. But then you look at what he's been doing as an amateur. I think you or Matty were mentioning there, has fought some of the best, Pat McCormick and one of the Russell brothers and that as well. I think he fought Virgil Ortiz. So if he steps it up, maybe gets a stoppage, looks good doing it, then it'll stand him in good stead. But I didn't catch a lot of what Matty was saying there about the fight, to be honest with you. So I don't know what his outcome was in that, but I'll probably go, no basing too much on what I've seen of Lemos and that, to be fair, I'll probably go with Hitchens on points.
Yeah, I think so. Rob, Hitchens on points seems like the pick for me. I just, as I said to Andy, I want to see what happens when someone puts it on him, and this Lemos is going to come, and Hitchens, we know he's accurate, we know he's fast. Has he got the power to keep him off him for 12 rounds?
That's the thing. He reminds me a little bit of Haiti that way in his early career, where he's capable probably of beating guys that are above him in the pecking order on decision, but is he going to look good doing it and get asses in seats and get people talking about him? He seems to have a good mouth on him.
Yeah.
No Bruno, no Diddy, as they say these days. On Twitter, he's very mouthy. You'd expect that from a New Yorker anyway. But if he could start backing up the talk with some of the performances now, he could put himself in the mix, because I think he is talented. And like I said, I think he's more than capable of beating guys with bigger names than him. But we're never going to see him in with a guy with a bigger name unless he starts fucking making a statement in the ring. So I'd say, again, I'd agree with you. It'd be a points win here. And he'll look good in pockets, but I don't know if he's a killer. Do you know that way?
Yeah.
I just don't know. I think he's good enough to get to a certain level, and as I said, probably beat some guys along the way by sneaky decision. But he's not exciting,
Yeah. Dominic, final word to you. Yeah, Hitchens, he seems to be one of these fighters who looks up to Floyd, but has skipped the exciting Floyd phase and gone straight to the grab and hug and run phase of Floyd, which was fair enough because Floyd had put his, got his money in the bank and done his business. But for Hitchens, he's on the way up. He should be banging people out if at all possible, or at least finishing them off.
Yeah. I mean, I'll echo what Andy said. I don't know much about this guy's fighting, but I'm just interested to see, in the context of the recent move of Eddie signing Matias, there's potential for a lot of those fights at 140 to get made, and I'll just be interested to see what Hitchens will shape up like as a potential future opponent for someone like that. So,
Jeez, you fucking kill him because he hasn't got it. Keep him off. You fucking walk through him. Oh my God.
Haney against Hitchens would be fucking pure ass. That would be some fucking paint dry.
Pure ass.
But like, I would like one of those fights back in the day. What was it, Steve? Roncis Barthélemy against who was that one of Barthélemy fought? It was an
Easter, was it? He had so many, didn't he? He's back, Barthélemy. He must be fighting somebody soon, I think.
That's right.
Barthélemy.
Oh, he was terrible. He was, fit me. Okay, so
Matthew, the other one, Richard Brill, he was the other one. He was awful.
Yeah, Brill, I was going to say, yeah. He's like Matthew Barney.
Richard Brill against who was that African guy? It was like 2009. That was one of the worst fights I've ever seen in my life. I'm trying to think.
Yes.
He used to come in like an animal pelt.
That was freaking hell. What do you call him? I know what you mean. I can see him.
Yep. Anyhow,
but he's this is terrible radio, but I can see his face. Amatoso, yep. Wally Amatoso.
Nope. I'm gonna look it up, Steve. You host, and I'll jump in when I got it.
Matty mentions well on DAZN on Friday night, and the Red Owl Boxing Arena. Dana Berrio going in against Ernesto Mercado. Mercado's a puncher. Tito, he's 14-0 with 13 knockouts. He likes to get rid of people. 2 fights ago, he knocked out Nakathia. He's also gone the distance with Ndonjane, and he's beaten Henry Lundy, but everybody beats him these days. And he knocked out Velez as well, so he's going through the sort of 2005 roster of fighters.
Sharif Beaujare.
Beaujare, that's the one, yes, him.
And interestingly enough, Richard Brill, who escaped Cuba, moved back to Cuba, it appears.
Good luck to him, I suppose. What about Mercado, Matty, before Bellew of the Week's looking forward to seeing
Where did he end up in Cork like Mike Price and just said, fuck this, I'm going to go back to
Cuba? So, I'm trying to remember much about Mercado's opponent. The interesting thing about him is I looked through it, and he's fought, fair enough level of opposition, but he hasn't fought in like 3 years, Steve.
Yeah.
But what you have to give Mercado is he's kind of running his own show, and he's not working officially with any promoter. He might not be fighting a great fighter, but he's fighting someone 6 weeks after his last fight, which was like 2 months after the fight before that, and he's staying active. So as you know, I know we give people crap for not fighting better opposition. Again, if you're working your way up and you're fighting every couple of months, you fight chumps if you got to fight a chump here and there. He did just have the win over Jeremiah Nakatila in December. I think it was December or November, Steve. So it's not like he's not fighting people with a name, people with a resume. But I do believe that this should be another clean knockout victory for Mercado, who's definitely an interesting player down in the 140-pound division that we've been speaking of. There's a lot of guys who are developing there, a lot of different styles, a lot of great fights to be made. Hopefully this picture starts taking better shape and they get these fights made.
Yep, let's hope so. I think that is everything then for the weekend.
Who's winning with these two bums?
I was just going to say, there's a fight breaking out there. Wardley looking very raw, getting a bit desperate, but he did catch Clark with the good right hand. Clark's jab's working well. Ben Shalom jumped out of his seat. I don't know whether he's getting excited or whether the flying squad coming through the back door. But are you watching it, Rob?
Absolutely not.
I see Sam Jones, who spent his entire week just about shitting on everything that Boxer do, is back on Twitter. Shitting on everything that Boxer do.
Hard not to know, in fairness to Sam. It's tough.
Tough at the top, eh? Sharks are fucking swimming about. Eddie's top of the chain there.
It's a more seer sniffing.
Should we make Hennessy? There jumping out of a seat? Well,
maybe
make Hennessy there in a seat.
Seats, Rob.
Poor Mick. Right, I think that's.
What's a quick one? I don't know if you covered it already. What do we make about Conor Ben losing his appeal against UK in the BBOFC? So apparently that he's only been fighting or allowed to fight because his suspension was temporarily lifted, and now they've won the appeal against his fucking legal case.
What was your question again, Rob? How do we feel? Right, you want to know how I feel, right? Think about the biggest, fattest doobie you could get, right? Ooh. And you're just taking the biggest dragger you can get out of it. When you go at the end of it, fucking tremendous.
I'm nodding my head along like a fucking hypnosis victim here. Like,
You've been putting your feet up there, and you've been enjoying the sunshine, the birds chirping in the trees, and you're saying, if you just took the ban, and you would still be having your money. If you just took the ban, you wouldn't have spent all your hundreds of thousands
He's innocent now, Andy. The WBC cleared him. He can fight in Tasmania and Arkansas.
This is the same WBC that's saying that women can't fight for 12 rounds for 3 minutes. Fuck the WBC.
But juice heads can.
There's an Easter egg for you, Connor.
Steroid cheats can.
There's a gesture egg.
Fucking hypocrites, man. Jesus Christ. Honestly,
so he's fucked them.
Yeah, he's fucked. Well, obviously he can fight in America and that, I would imagine,
No, I think not. I think he was only allowed fight in America because there was a temporary suspension lifted, so I don't think he could fight anywhere. Yeah. Unfortunately for him.
Is that right? I hadn't followed it up. That's lovely.
I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. I'm just parroting shit that I see on Twitter, so don't take my word for it, but that's what I heard on the streets.
According to sources, Rob, drug cheats should be banned. Here, let me show you now.
I don't need to save money. I want to put on good fights. So that was a good fight for DAZN. So I'm disappointed. But what is the point in signing up for drug testing if when you fail, everyone just goes, "Oh, don't worry about it. Just let him fight." You know? Yeah. So the argument of, well, it's all right with UCAD is totally irrelevant. You've signed drug testing with VADA, the best testing agency, in my opinion, in the sport.
There you go.
It just sets a life, whoever did that.
who was it again that actually caught Ben? It was VADA, eh?
Yep.
Yeah.
So they were gold standard in that. See if you go back and actually read these statements. Eddie actually saying that ultimately the test will be tested by a specialist. Eddie, it was tested by a specialist previously. That's why it came back positive the first time, mate. Just to kind of throw that wee nugget in there. But yeah, we agree. We agree with Eddie 100% that VADA is the gold standard of testing. And Conor Ben just fell foul to it.
Eddie has spoken. Matty's gone. He's had enough. He's been spending his time in airports.
What a weak ass excuse, eh? He spent the last 15 or the last 48 hours in airports and on planes. What a fucking weak ass excuse.
I was stuck in the Ulster Hall till 1 o'clock in the morning, Andy,
Exactly,
and then it
mate.
become 2 o'clock all of a sudden.
Exactly. I've been stuck with the family for 3 days at Easter weekend, man. You haven't got a fucking clue what he's on about, man.
Purgatory.
Exactly. At least he's been on the go. At least he's been moving about, doing things and stuff, seeing different things.
Where's he
and that,
fucking flying to all the time these days anyway? What's he
He loves a flight. He loves a flight
catching all
now.
these. There's a lot of fellas in the public eye catching a lot of flights these days, and they're catching a lot of flack. I hope he's not fucking
DG Island.
Nefarious.
You better watch it, by the way. There's some of the American airlines are showing some dodgy maintenance reports. Look at that one with the fucking door panel. Did you see it? Did you see it? I'm being serious. Did you see the fucking the emergency door? You know, like near the wing, and they turned the fucking door out and put a panel in place. The fucking plane took off. The panel fucking blew out. Seriously.
All that dying to go to Amanda Serrano.
Was it Boeing? I think it was. No, I better not slander anybody in case we get fucking sued for 10 pence, man. You know?
We wish all the airlines well.
Aye, but look, and their maintenance records. But
we're just comedians, remember, not very good ones. We're not here. Don't listen to anything we say. Right, let's go on to Value of the Week for episode 566. Rob's here, Dominic, Andy, me, and Steve. We played this earlier, but let's play it again. It is Easter after all. Get the jester eggs out. Here is a nice message for you.
I want to tell everybody, just thank you for coming out, and honestly, happy Easter, everybody. You guys, Jesus was resurrected. I'll be back.
It sounds like me after a sixth of vodka, by the way. I tell you what, I sounded like me after Klitschko against Fury. Poor Rolly, man.
He's class.
Jesus is resurrected. Poor bugger, man.
Oh dear, good old Rolly.
Every time he gets knocked out, he's having a fucking spiritual experience. He's getting closer to seeing the fucking white light each time. It might be time for Rolly to retire,
exactly.
man.
I thought Gervonta had actually made him see the light, but this one's got to make him see it the tenfold now.
All the time we thought that fucking Broner was calling him retardo when he was really saying retire, bro.
Oh, he's class. John Heaton is our first Value of the Week nominee. He said George Groves being very subtly inebriated on his Boxing Club podcast, the Dalton Smith review one. There you go. Must have been on the old gold label, Andy, before recording the podcast. Never heard the likes of this.
That's a good whiskey you picked out there, Stephen. That's really good. No, I tell you what, actually, see, since COVID, obviously with kind of working arrangements have all changed. And that I didn't listen to many podcasts these days. No. So I maybe need to start asking you guys that what ones that I listen to, because other ones that I did used to are stopped. So.
Mm-hmm. Yep. No, I'm the same actually. Whenever the Rona come along, you think you have all this time on your hands, and because you're not going back and forward to work and stuff, I stopped listening to it.
I mean, I could easily do about 6 a week, because obviously I was in the offices, I was out doing some stuff, I was doing travelling, 40 minutes here, an hour there, that type of thing, and that you're always getting something filled in at that time,
Mm-hmm.
Just haven't got that same time anymore,
Exactly.
I don't think anyone should be drinking on fucking podcasts and talking boxing and being taken seriously anyway. I think that's what I'm all against that.
Well said, Rob. Well said. Mike Goodall was tweeting out identical sprinter stolen early hours of the morning from Hotel Car Park, Canning Town area, London. Contains half a boxing ring for Sunday night Sky Boxing Show. Reward or return, please retweet. And Buffer jumped in here, Andy. He says, hopefully this is found soon. So sorry, Mike. And then he went on to say, you're the best in the business, Mike. I hope the rat bastards that nick the van get caught and receive the max penalty for it. Stay well, and I'll see you soon at ringside, my brother.
The max penalty for it. The max penalty, I can tell you right now, is going to be absolutely fucking not even worth the bother getting arrested, man.
The worst thing about that is that he actually said it like that. You're the best in the business, Mike. I hope there are rat bastards that got this and get this. They receive a max penalty for it.
Seriously, though. Seriously. See Buffer. Sorry to go off the topic here. I will get back to it. Yeah. See Buffer. I actually thought he was done for good, because I hadn't seen him for months. And next minute appears in Saudi, and now he's appeared on Twitter now calling people rat bastards. So
he looks a bit like Vince McMahon, doesn't he? Not a good comparison these days. Like,
well, I mean, you don't really want him to go down that road, mate. But go back to Mike Goodall.
I don't think he controls that account. Is that
No, I don't think so.
Oh, Vince McMahon.
Steve McMahon.
Maybe Eddie or maybe the missus or whatever. And that. But
Yeah,
who was
someone
it?
else is running that. I think Dominic's right. Actually,
I can never. I just can't see Buffer even typing the words "rat bastards." I just can't.
Just going back to the original tweet though. See, Goodall. See when that hit the WhatsApp airwaves, it was funny because the first thing people mentioned was, can you imagine the rage that Mike would be going through at the minute and that. And then obviously the stories start piping up about Mike mentioning, like, obviously when the riots kick off at ringside, he's fucking raging. He's got the microphone out. Sit down! You're embarrassing your families.
And the national anthems. He hates the national anthem booing, doesn't he?
And
Respect.
Nobody's giving a shit. Fucking you've got big Joe Blogs coked out. He's not fucking 6'5" throwing a fucking banner there. Someone's he'd try to get to someone else. He's not giving a fucking bit of respect for the family code. He's just wanting to get to the poor fucker.
Did anyone see the one of the nutters put a wee picture of Spotty Frank Smith on the front seat with his head? I sent it to Rob.
Oh, I must have missed that one, Dominic.
Is it Rob's? If Rob's listening, I'll send it to Rob. It's just a big picture of Spotty Frank on the front seat, popping his head out the window.
I seen it, but like I can't put it on screen by telepathy. But it was that's the same.
Yeah,
the same as what he said.
Wardley dropped Clark apparently.
Oh,
Woofed.
On behind then, he's got a bloody nose on my version.
Why are you turning around?
Yeah.
Should go and watch this, maybe.
Yeah. Who was favourite for us when it was no Wardley?
Phrase, big phrase.
Big phrase, yeah. Yeah, I found phrase was what I can see so far. Clearly not. He hasn't been dropped. He's doing all right.
Big knockdown or no?
No. Joe Kennedy has nominated O'Hara Davies. Having Bitcoin is better than having property.
Yeah, go sleep in your Bitcoin.
Ryan is back, offering free boob jobs, Brazilian butt lifts for women. Click to read more. Here we are. He says, no weird stuff. Just out here supporting. No disrespect either. I respect all women. I love and support all women in the world. I'm just getting a lot of requests in my DM, so I decided to go full support mode. Who with me? Ryan Garcia for president.
No.
Yes.
I'm the one that they force her tit supporters, man. Fuck that shit.
I like that he's entertaining his status though. You know what I mean? Help some of these birds out that are clearly in his DMs. He's done a podcast with Alex Jones as well, by the way. Ryan Garcia. He's done
yeah. Can you imagine? Can you imagine what he's going to be like if he pulls this off somehow? If he somehow pulls this off, can you imagine what it's going to be like? He will
be the biggest thing in the world.
He'll be balls out every night, man.
Be the best thing for the sport. If Ryan Garcia goes in and left hooks Devin Haney out of the fucking ring in the first round, absolutely destroys him. It'll be the best thing for the sport. It won't happen like but still.
I haven't. Go ahead, Steve.
I was just going to say I haven't been following too much of it, but someone informed me, apparently, Dominic, that Ryan was on Instagram or Snapchat or something doing a live, and he was talking about being abducted and being sold into sexual slavery while having a dog filter over his face.
What was it, Russia or something like that? That time?
Well, you took the words out. I saw someone sent me actually a live of him with what the people that generation do. Like they're doing a live, they're driving the car and they're doing a live, and there's a split screen, so he's on one screen and there's some wee girl on the other one. She's driving her own car, and they're talking to each other, and they do these wee cliches back and forth, and then they just both sign off with, she just says to him, Jesus is great, and then he repeats it back there. They're just weird.
He should do that with Rolly, shouldn't he? Jesus is great, yeah. Jesus.
Can you imagine them two fighting? Rolly and Ram.
Rolly's going to sound like Terry Norris in about 2 years' time.
Oh dear, man.
Listen, I don't know if folk are way behind here, but there's people like saying like Wardley's dropped Clark, so I don't know if like these
he's dropped him on mine. He caught him in the end of the fifth.
And I don't know if this is a second time, but folk must be like way behind on other people in the chat here. Eh?
I'm 2 minutes 10 into the sixth, and he has dropped him once at least. His nose is bleeding, Wardley, but he's coming on.
Oh, about a 12-rounder, eh? If it's a British title.
12-rounder, yeah, 12-rounder. Here we are. Kate Abdo's boyfriend threatens Jamie Carragher after lack of loyalty joke.
Here for that content. Like
that was awkward as fuck, wasn't it? That was the most awkward shit. He was like, "What? Not a Malik, you know?" And everyone was like, "Henri's there looking all shifty in the corner."
They've clearly never seen Malik Scott fight.
No, they saw his OnlyFans, so they're fucking terrified.
If anybody's listening on behalf of Jamie Carragher, just tell him to watch the Wilder fight. And just tap him to the temple, and he'll drop like a sack of shit. It'll be easy, mate. Easy. And plus, I think Carragher trains with the Smith brothers and that, so he's easy work.
His box trick is not the best, but his resume is up there. Put it that way.
So's Kate Abdos, by the way. She's breaking pound for pound lists in terms of resume, like.
She didn't Macklin as well. She clearly has great taste. This
Malik's raging. Said he might have to let his hands go. Well, it's about time. A Tocker sent this one in. Jake Amparo is challenging for the IBF minimum weight title tomorrow. Has a WBO tattoo after winning the WBO Asia Pacific title last year. He got this baby done.
It's a nice subtle little number. You'd hardly see it, would you?
Who was he fighting? Is that Chinchiro?
Oh, I'm not sure. It was in Japanese card. That was on the Jerusalem card, was it?
Melvin Jerusalem. I think he won, but if that's that Jinjiro, I think the Japanese boy won the fight by knockout.
Oh, he looks like he might have been the favourite there from that square off.
It was that Mini Tyson there, eh?
The wee man's gonna have to get the cheese grater out, I think, and get rid of that. I'm gonna fuck you up. Mystery man interrupts Ben Whittaker's press conference to call him out. Did anyone see this?
Who's this? Who's the mystery man?
Rob Tebbett tweeted out it was some Nigerian cruiserweight based in London.
Okay, the guy with the black t-shirt then.
Yeah, he was kicking off saying he wanted the fight and all. He looked like a unit. He's 12-0, I think, with 10 knockouts. Can't remember his name. Yeah, we wish him well.
He must have just had a bowl of vodka for his lunch and then steamed over there for a.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there he is. He's gone from the okra.
Should try and contact that guy again.
The okra, I'll have you know.
Oh, have you? Is it nice?
I can't really remember. It was about 5 years ago. I was living in Dublin at a Nigerian flatmate, and she's one of these born again Pentecostalist Christians, and she used to like speak in tongues. The walls were really thin, so you could sort of hear, belting out these flipping. Never heard anything like it. It was she was called Fola Ola.
Shoulder Amiobi. Oh dear me. There you are. There's a yarn for you. Boxingscene.com. Rolando Romero wants to fight Terence Crawford at 147 if he gets beyond Isak Cruz.
Love to see it. Jesus. Love to see it.
Crawford might rewire him.
You know something? It would be fantastic if the modern era fighters was like Basilio and Robinson back in the day, where they were fighting every month, and he's Romero's getting used like a fucking used porn rag, just getting passed around about the jail cells now, just twat it about. Oh, what?
Every time I fall for it, like every time he does a fucking Showtime build up, I think this is Raleigh's time. Here's Raleigh's fucking moment. He's gonna, and then look at him like he's
about 4 losses by now.
We've been saying for long enough.
For me too, and that's what's wrong with me. I've seen him. I've seen how bad he is. Like, and he talks me. He's been
resurrected, Rob. He's been resurrected.
Oh my God! You see him? He looked like in the first round. He looked like he was trying to run out of the ring.
By the way, can we just be thankful he never tried to say the Messiah in that state.
He looks like one of these fellas that turns up aspiring and doesn't want to get hit in the face. And then when they get hit in the face, they want to look for the ring. We'll get out of here. Like, I don't know what the fuck is going on. He was, man. He was like Bambi.
You hear the wee grunty lets out just as he's letting the punch go. It's like a wee sort of someone was saying.
I'll never forget.
It's like a pride Monica Seles.
Was that when she was stabbed in the shoulder blades?
yeah, that's what he looked like after round 8.
Big Freeze had a pointed up to that.
Yeah. Low blow.
Fall apart.
See, one of the best things in Romero's career that I ever saw was like when he got knocked out off Gervonta Davis. I see when you see it in slow motion when he gets hit with the last shot. I guess a sweeping cross. He gets hit with, and you see it in slow motion. It's like his eyes goes away into the arena. He's just literally just like falling into the ropes. Nothing can stop him. Did
you see the meme, Andy, of him like leaning through the ropes, and it says when you're trying to get the iPhone charger in behind the headboard.
Oh my God.
He is class, like.
Let's see more of him. See him back. Let's see the rematch.
Let's hear more from him, Rob.
Yeah. I don't think we're going to be hearing too much more from him, to be honest with you.
Oh dear. Right, final one, Andy. You said this to me earlier. This is the Turvel Pulev.
Clark's got a point off.
The other Rolly. Here we go.
I hope he's alright, man, because if they fucking cameras can weigh a fair weight, by the way.
Oh, stop, man. Imagine he broke that camera. Go fucking explain that to the boss. Stand on the ring apron, man. It wasn't my fault.
I've seen at shows before, they have a fella standing behind, don't they? Sort of with the hand on the back and all to stop that from happening. But clearly Bulgaria have different standards.
But they've usually got a box here. There's not even like standing beside the ring. You've got a kind of box. And they can actually step back on it. But
Yeah, I'm going to have to play that again. Let's
play that again.
You call it backwards headbutt? Like a backward headbutt of the
Dan Sherry, Chris Eubank.
Yeah.
Fucking. Oh my god.
Right, those are all the ones I've got, Andy. What have you got to throw into the cauldron this week?
Anybody catch Oscar? I can't remember if it was on Twitter or Instagram. Him and Hopkins after the knockout of Raleigh, man.
Oh,
Oscar
yeah, should have cut that.
Was absolutely rolling about pissing himself, man.
Yeah, you know why that is, though? Because
I know, but
in the build-up to it, fucking in the build-up to it, Oscar did a fucking interview with one of these YouTubers, Fight Hyper, one of them, like, and he's breaking down the style. So he's doing an impression of Cruz. And then he's doing an impression of Raleigh's style, and he's kind of laughing. He's like, Raleigh's got his head up in the air, guys. Like, oh. He's like, fucking. So they showed it to Raleigh, and Raleigh was like, well, I have an impression of me of Oscar fighting, and he pulled out his iPhone, and it's a video of him pretending to sniff a line. So I say Oscar was fucking putting an extra one down last night in honor of the knockout, like, because he had the last laugh, didn't he?
Don't let to throw Errol Spence there because he's like all of a sudden that eye injury is like all of a sudden like mysteriously like healed up.
It's a clone, is it the real Errol Spence?
But
That's what you have to ask yourself.
The thing is, right? So we had the eye injury, right? So that postponed the rematch. Crawford still without an opponent, yet he appears last night, and next minute he's challenging Fundora. Crawford's still waiting for an opponent. So I want to throw Spence in there just for that kind of.
He's a state, man.
Come on, man. You know what I'm saying? This just shows you the state of the game. He gets fucking obliterated in the last fight, right? Got eye issues, right? Got more than that actually. But end of the day, gets to the rematch postponed with Crawford on the back of that eye issue, right? Comes back, ready to fight again. Great, fucking fight Crawford. Nah, not having that, dude. Oscar, as we mentioned, Jordan Plant. I think that's Khalid Plant's missus who was in the interviews last night. I liked her actually last night. She was on Raleigh's ass for.
She was great interviewing Raleigh, wasn't she?
For the comments that he made. Nah, it's just he took a lot of shots more than we expected.
Yeah, that was great. Take more shots than you thought.
Spence had a kind of a laugh at Raleigh's expense as well, because Raleigh was on Twitter saying, I'd like to fight Errol Spence, his defense is terrible, and Spence was like, grand 40 grand, you get knocked out. So he won 40 grand on that one. Spence was up last night on the fucking bookies.
See, they've got your gal Claudia Trejos doing the interviewing as well.
She was doing the zone for a while, wasn't she? The Latino cards.
That's right. They poached her from the up, but yeah, they've got the two of them doing it. I sort of miss Jim Gray. I think I would prefer to still see Jim Gray doing it, but usually you would get some good lines out of Gray when you're least expecting them. You know, when you're sort of you're just sort of so used to the broadcaster just towing the line. Now and again, Gray would, that fight. There was a fight. I think it was it Elijah Garcia's fight? It was a recent fight that just was a real. No, it was the Valenzuela. Who did Valenzuela in the Valenzuela Colbert fight? The first
Colbert,
fight?
yeah.
The first fight, which should have been which wasn't a Colbert, which shouldn't have been a Colbert win. Gray was really honest.
Yeah.
Interviewing him after that, but I'll miss that sort of stuff. But and looks like Bernstein's gone over to the zone.
I know that. Where did they send him out? Was he out in Bulgaria last night?
Bernstein, was he?
Was you saying that, Andy? Did Bernstein go out to Bulgaria? Did
Was that, mate?
Pulev? Someone
Aye.
said Bernstein went out to do the Pulev fight.
Aye, but Bernstein tweeted up himself, actually, saying he was out there ringside doing commentary. I think he said for DAZN.
Yeah, DAZN, yeah.
But I watched it.
Jesus.
But I watched it on that, as I said, I watched it on that Bulgarian channel, mate, so I'm basing it off his tweet, basically. I didn't even know it was on getting shown on DAZN. Was it DAZN UK, or was it?
No, it was the international DAZN. Yeah, because Bernstein obviously done. Bernstein used to do the Channel 5 fights.
That's right.
When Fury was over here, because I remember once that security wouldn't let him ringside. He was trying to take a burger and fries and a big milkshake ringside, and all. And he was going, "I'm the commentator." He's like, "Sorry, no food at ringside, mate."
I remember you saying. Actually, I also
wouldn't say that to Jimmy McGee. He'd fucking take his packet of hunky dories back.
I want to hear you do Jimmy McGee's accent, Rob. You have to work on that for me.
I'll have to fucking I don't know. I'll tell you my Jimmy McGee story off air, maybe.
R.I.P. Jimmy.
We wish him well.
You remember actually Bernstein was over, Steve, for the night Frampton fought Chris Avalos. He was doing the commentary for ITV.
Yes.
And he did, even when he was working with Showtime all those years, I think he must have had some sort of latitude to do freelance stuff in other territories.
Well, they all do, because Mauro Ranallo was doing Triller for a while. Sorry to interrupt you.
Oh, was he? I didn't know that Ronaldo was doing stuff as well. But Bernstein, like he's been on it a long time, I suppose.
Oh, he has, absolutely.
I'd like to see someone like Lampley back. I can't believe that none of these newfangled platforms that are sprouting up here, there, and everywhere can't find room for some.
Nobody's took him. Everyone expected when HBO disappeared that Lampley was going to be inundated and he'd be popping up here, there, and everywhere. But he said himself, hasn't he, by his own admission, nobody's offered him a role at all.
Even you think something like maybe ESPN, because like Kellerman has that sort of. I think Kellerman has some sort of magazine.
He's kind of gone out of sport too.
Yeah,
out of boxing
he's gone.
Altogether,
They got rid of Kellerman, didn't they, from ESPN? I don't think he's there anymore. Yeah.
That makes sense, because usually in the algorithm would throw up his sort of thing that he does on ESPN. The sort of
it's called State of Boxing, I think. I think they got rid of him because he wasn't doing it with Stephen A. Smith or something like that.
Well, that makes sense because it hasn't been popping up for me, like, so on the thing. So
that can happen.
It's pretty clear, guys. There's only one guy in boxing who's the best part. It's pretty clear.
He's on Pro Box. He's class.
He loves the SOG, doesn't he?
Oh, he does. Rob, any nominations from you, please?
Oh, just an all-around bad week for Raleigh, innit? Like it's got to be Raleigh time this week. Like fucking hell. Jesus.
Looks like Big Freeze has turned this round.
Yeah, he's doing well. He's landed some good body shots actually. Went to round 9 on my feed. Right, okay, Andy, who are you going for? We'll get out of here.
I'm going to go for Raleigh, mate.
I'm going for Raleigh as well.
I go for Raleigh as well. Steve, tell me this, was that card you were at last night? Were DAZN televising that one?
Yes, DAZN televised that as well, yes.
They are.
It was the undercard wasn't any great shakes. I was saying earlier the Irish title, the Celtic title fight, whatever it was decent. Good domestic scrap. And Kurt Walker, who I've been critical of in the past, he was really good. Footwork,
how many rounds
punch picking. 7. He went 7. He was just grinding your man down, hitting him with accurate shots, and they pulled him out. Beach.
Was there any word? Did you hear any word about Crocker at ringside?
Crocker's meant to be fighting away. They said somebody said Crocker's fighting away, but then it was in the middle of another conversation. I didn't catch where. It could be in England. It could be somewhere else. McComb's meant to be fighting Arnold Barboza on the Haney Garcia undercard. I think I said that one to you.
Because who's isn't what do you call him? Donovan's fighting Ritson, isn't he?
Donovan's fighting Ritson. That's right. Yeah.
What card's that going to be on again?
That was on. Was that supposed to be on the Catterall undercard?
Yes.
Yes, it was. You know. No, I can't remember Crocker. Someone just said, "Oh, he's fighting away," but I didn't hear anything else. But yeah. But as for Walker, can't remember what they were talking about. Him fighting next, but he looked good. He looked good. I was impressed, and I'm not easy to impress, as you know. Anyway, congratulations, Rolly Romero. You are the Bellew of the Week winner for episode 566. That's where we'll leave it. Nothing else now. Matty's had enough. He's in the iceberg. He's gone. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Didn't manage to get to shout you out. I'm not going to bother now. Episode 567 is next week. We'll be talking about Hitchens and whatever else is after that. Thank you for Matty for coming on, for Rob, for Dominic for joining us as well, for Andy. I've been Steve Wellings. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe. We'll catch you all again same time, same place next week. And bye.
we'll never forget.
Yeah, I think that's good happening.
We want to be honest, yeah?
Crying like a little bitch. I've never met a fucking swank that can fight me.
I fell asleep. I fell asleep.
You're a fucking bum, you're a fucking asshole.
Rumple fucking stiltskin.
But allegedly, Oscar Rivas has failed a test.
7-year aim. 7-year aim.
I will fucking smash fucking you.
I hope you fucking die.
Be safe.
I love boxing sounds, as simple as that.